Racist!
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, November 11th, 2018. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1085.
This is No Agenda.
Honoring veterans all around Gitmo Nation and broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where they're not acknowledging anybody but Stalin, I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Is that what they're doing in California? They're only acknowledging Stalin?
Stalin.
No, come on. You got to be kidding me, right?
I'll tell you, yeah, I'm kidding you.
Okay, good. I mean, I know they're kooky
they're
out
mostly
there.
acknowledging Trump.
as the wannabe Stalin.
I wish I could. I got to go to some of these rallies and pick up some of these posters.
You know, I went to the rally. I went to the Protect Mueller rally here in Austin. Yes, right after the show.
Did you get any posters for me?
Well, no. In fact, there were no posters. Everything was handmade. So this was, although it was organized. Let me just tell you, so I can see City Hall, in front of City Hall from our balcony. So after the show, I'm chilling out and on the balcony for a second. I'm like, oh, look, there's people. Oh, okay, that's the thing. That's the Protect Mueller thing.
Protect
Mueller.
All the radicals want to protect the FBI. It's
so
great.
I'm like, I'm going to go down there and I just kind of walked in between them. And I got to say, first of all, a lot of American flags, a lot of patriotic flag waving, which is typically associated with Republicans in Austin, at least, or right-wing white nationalists, I should say. There's no such thing as a Republican, only Nazis. And so people are flying flags, and everyone there looked like, which I think is what it was, looked like they had, they belonged to a Facebook group. Like, oh yeah, we're going to meet up 5 o'clock right in front of City Hall. A lot of DNC spokesholes on the microphone. A lot of Trump is not above the law. A lot actually of they and them. They won't, them, they. So it's just like the enemy is they and
They're
them.
They're otherizing the Republicans.
Very much so. They and them. I heard a lot of they and them. The people themselves, John, I would say middle-aged, a slight twinge of stress.
I'll bet.
But no one was unhinged. No one was, going nuts.
You got it. Well,
but is it possible that there are people who like to go stand in crowds and just hold a sign? I noticed a number of people, and not even on a stick. They just hold the sign up with one hand, and they're standing there, and they're not looking at anything. They're just gazing off into space. Even as the crowd is dissipating, they just stand there. This may be a thing that I don't know about.
Well, maybe you're into Sims.
It was an NPC whose programming had just not moved on to the next phase yet. He's standing there. Orange man bad. So it was very demure. Not your Antifa crowd. It was like middle-aged people who look very distressed because they completely believe
they're distressed.
Well, they're distressed, but it's obvious they completely believe in some form of Russian collusion. Zephyr, thank goodness. There we go. So anyway, so I did think,
but they completely believe in everything.
I actually have a clip regarding this. Hold on a sec.
Among those here, have a look at the crowd. A lot of folks packed in here. Organizers say their message: no one is above the law.
Oh, that's it.
Trump is not above the law.
Very similar to Austin. This, I think, is Arizona.
Now, that was a video taken within the last.
For a jingle?
I'm sorry? What?
Is that the best they can do? It's got no jazz to it at all.
I know.
Donald Trump
is not above the law.
It's above the law.
Donald Trump is not above the law.
You're right. I mean, there's no melody, there's no nothing. You can't
remember. Catchy.
No, it's not catchy at all. Our jingle people do better than that, and they will.
Now, that was video taken within the last hour. Organizers said this protest, one of many planned nationwide, is in opposition to President Trump's firing of Jeff Sessions and appointment of Matthew Whitaker as acting AG, and concerns they have of what this will mean for the special counsel's investigation, given Whitaker has publicly been critical of Robert Mueller and the investigation prior to joining the Justice Department. Now, this protest comes as 18 attorneys general this afternoon, including Washington AG Bob Ferguson, banded together to sign a letter calling on Whitaker to recuse himself from overseeing the special counsel's investigation.
Repression needs to be confronted early because loss of our civil liberties follows the loss of the rule of law. And right now the rule of law is threatened. It is threatened by a president who is afraid of being held accountable.
Yeah, this is going nowhere. This Trump is not above the law. It's not working. Yeah, it's not gaining any desired result. I think they're just going back to racism with Trump now in the rotation.
Maybe.
Well, no, not
well,
maybe.
Yeah, they have been picking on him for this. He said he talked back to some black reporters.
No, you don't have the full meme yet, which, by the way, is everywhere today.
Okay.
The full meme is he is racist because he puts down black female reporters. Not one, not two, but three. And so this is what everybody is talking, not us, I mean, we are, but this is now the racist meme of the week. And we have proof that Trump is racist. Here's NPR, the bastion of reporting on the radio.
President Trump's feud with the media seemed to take some ominous turns this week.
There
was that testy exchange with CNN's Jim Acosta.
Are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was
enough.
going to ask one of the other...
That led to Acosta...
Acosta, of course, as you know, a black woman.
...being barred from the White House. Then today, another CNN reporter asked the president if he wanted his new acting attorney general to rein in Robert Mueller.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
The reporter asking that question was Abby Phillip, a black woman. In fact,
By the way, not that you... And I saw no footage that showed the reporter asking the questions. But for NPR, by the way... Did she actually say, by the way, a black reporter? A black woman? Let me see.
His new acting attorney general to rein in Robert Mueller.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
The reporter asking that question was Abby Phillip, a black woman. In fact, I mentioned because the president then went on to attack another black woman reporter, April Ryan.
I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Trump also had...
By the way, this is well done because the April Ryan quote-unquote attack refers to, press conference where she wasn't allowed to ask a question. But they've melded these two answers of his together as if he went on right after that to say she's dumb. You know what I mean? It's kind of a reverse whipsaw.
It's the stuff we find on the show constantly.
Yeah, it's an annoying.
It's cheating reporting.
Yes.
Reporter April Ryan.
I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
Trump also had choice words this week for PBS's Yamiche Alcindor, another black female reporter.
Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying
I don't know why you'd
that
say
the
that. That's such a racist
There are
question.
some people
So
that say
what's going on here?
Now, here's something that is new on NPR. I think they've figured out that they really can't sell it to themselves. They can't ruin their own integrity by ginning up these types of theories. I'm not going to say it's a conspiracy. Well, it is actually a conspiracy because everyone's doing it. That the president, is racist, and here's the proof: he's very harsh towards female black reporters. But they can't really sell that to themselves by talking about that. So they bring in the podcast.
Gene Dinby, co-host of NPR's Code Switch podcast, is in the studio with us. Hey.
See, and they have a lot of podcasts, and these people aren't necessarily on the radio, so they're kind of like, well, it was the podcaster who said it. It's not really NPR.
Gene.
Hey, Mary Louise.
What did you make of the president's exchanges with reporters?
Sorry?
I think that's a dynamite observation.
I think I have another.
They have their own built-in straw man they can bring in, beat the crap out of him or not, or have him say some crazy stuff. And there you go. There's an opinion.
That's exactly
and he is
right.
associated with us, so therefore you associate him with us, and so therefore you think the same way.
And I've heard it. I think there may even be another clip from NPR today, where they do the exact same, just bring in a blogger.
A
podcaster.
Of NPR's Code Switch podcast is in the studio with us. Hey, Gene.
Hey, Mary Louise.
What did you make of the president's exchanges with reporters this week?
I mean, it was interesting, right? I mean, if you look at the
response
to Yamiche Alcindor's question, she asked this very legitimate question about rising white nationalism and whether the president's decisions.
What was the question? Why isn't white nationalism? That wasn't the question. The question
wasn't about rising white nationalism.
President's exchange.
Make that up.
This thing is wait until this guy gets to the end of his spiel, and it's just boom, 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 one untruth after another. But in the lexicon, for him, completely truth and completely valid.
With reporters this week.
I mean, it was interesting, right? I mean, if you look at the response to Yamiche Alcindor's question.
Say what?
It was interesting, right? It was interesting, right?
Yeah, it was interesting, right?
And she asked this very legitimate question about rising white nationalism and whether the president's decision to identify himself as a nationalist was somehow contributing to that. Trump used an old tactic, though, from people who are defensive about questions about race. They said that talking about racism is the real racism.
You see, I knew this was going to be problematic. When he said, that's a very racist question, that apparently is a very old tactic that racists use. Yeah. Racists will say that's a racist question to deflect from their own blatant racism, of course.
Nationalist was somehow contributing to that. Trump used an old tactic, though, from people who are defensive about questions about race. They said that talking about racism is the real racism. It is not, listeners.
Now, hold on a second. Is it this guy? He has a little twang. Is he black?
I believe so, but she didn't mention it. And by the way, I think she should have. Or should have mentioned his creed, color, race, whatever, and hers, because we're identifying everybody.
I agree. They should identify. She should probably say what her pronoun is for that matter.
Question.
It's in her email signature. Don't worry.
It's about race. They said that talking about racism is the real racism. It is not, listeners. And today it was a little bit different. Abby Phillip asked the president about whether his acting attorney general would rein in the Russia investigation. Now, President Trump has obviously said that investigation is a witch hunt.
And suggested he would like his past attorney general, Jeff Sessions, to rein it in.
That was the focus of so much of the ire between the two of them. So it seems like a legitimate question.
Okay, but as we just heard, the president also attacked.
So what was wrong with it? They didn't resolve that, I might want to point out. So what was wrong then? What he said, that's a stupid question? I don't understand. How is that racist? They don't resolve it. They just say, black woman, he said something, not good, racist.
Jim Acosta, who, whatever you think of him, he's not a black woman. So is it fair to say that the president is singling out black women?
I mean, it's really hard to say, right? The president has this antagonistic relationship with the press broadly. On the other hand, the context, this larger context matters.
Right. I mean, the president uses racially charged language in all kinds of contexts.
Let's listen to some examples.
It's not just sparring with reporters.
Exactly. There's, the fine people on both sides comment after Charlottesville.
Racist.
There was the way he went after NFL players who were protesting racial inequality in the criminal justice system.
Racist. What do you say? Get those sons of bitches off the field? I would tell an owner, get that son of a bitch off the field. That's racist. Racist.
There's the Muslim ban.
Racist.
And the language around that. And
the language around that.
There's never been a Muslim ban.
Huh? No, there's never been a
Muslim ban.
No, of course not. But that's what we call it now on NPR. I'm sorry. It was the podcaster who made a mistake. Those guys, they're giving too much freedom. I'm sorry. We won't have them on again. Don't worry.
Do you know that April Ryan, who is one of the most prominent members of the White House press corps?
Prominent? Who does she work for?
Okay.
American Urban Radio Networks?
Is that what it is?
I think it's that.
April Ryan. There she is. American journalist and author. She serves the White House chief American Urban Radio Networks. She joined CNN also as a political analyst.
Yeah, she's not one of the most prominent White House correspondents. She sits in the middle of the pack, not at the front where Jim Acosta gets to sit. She's not one of the prominent members. Look, I'm ant-fucking here, but I'm just pissed off at this guy.
She's got a nice CNN clip. Says, April Ryan to Trump, I'm not a loser. That'd be a nice clip.
And we do know that April Ryan, who is one of the most prominent members of the White House press corps, she certainly seems to think that he singles out women and people of color in the press room. Here's what she said to CNN.
You don't see this kind of exchange happening with white males.
No, we didn't see that with Jim Acosta. Okay.
In that room, as much as you do with minorities, meaning African-American women, myself, or women.
Gene Denby, when the president speaks to reporters at the White House, he's, of course, also speaking to a much wider audience. How does language like this play with his base?
Well, we know.
They love it. We know that. They're all racist.
From public opinion polls that his base is especially skeptical of the news media. According to a Quinnipiac poll from late in the summer, about 51% of Republicans said that the news media is the enemy of the people.
This is good. I have not seen this poll. I couldn't find it. But now we've moved it to a poll. And I mean, did the poll say, is the news media the enemy of the people? Or did the poll say, is the fake news enemy of the people? See, now you're just doing polls and you bring that in, and then whatever Trump actually said doesn't matter anymore.
We also know that from years of public opinion polling that Republicans are conservative on racial issues. They are more skeptical of sort of fixing inequality through the government or like on affirmative action, on policing. And so you have these, in this case, you have three reporters who are also women, importantly, who sort of embody.
Yeah, he's a millennial guy.
These two demographics. They are members of the news media, and they are also not white, very visibly not white, in a press corps that is overwhelmingly white.
Is that still true? White House press corps overwhelmingly white?
Overwhelmingly so.
Well, maybe the networks are racist. They're not sending enough black and brown people and females and transgenders and dogs.
What's got to do with Trump?
It has nothing to do with him. No, this has to do...
The only one they kicked out was a white guy.
Not white, in a press corps that is overwhelmingly white.
Is that still true?
Well, Trump is working on that. He brought down the white side by one. So score for the black side. You should be happy.
True. White House press corps overwhelmingly
white. So. And so in a lot of ways, they may be literal embodiments of the things that most animate some of Trump's base.
Yeah, racist. Let's check out CNN. Significantly shorter clip, but this is Kirsten Powers. And she just, they're not going to dwell on what happened, but more on her analysis.
That was to Abby Phillip of CNN. Joining me now is CNN political analyst Kirsten Powers and former Trump campaign aide Michael Caputo. Kirsten, I'm just, watching the president there. April Ryan is obviously African American. Abby Phillip is as well. Earlier, he, I think it was on Wednesday, the press conference, he spoke to an African American reporter saying her question was racist. Some have said that there is a racial component to this, or the president's willingness to call African Americans stupid. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do. And he plays on racial tropes that go all the way back to the beginning of.
Did he call African Americans as a group stupid? That's what he just said.
Do you see that?
Didn't he just
I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen again. Let's roll it back. I missed that, if that's what he said. Let's see.
Spoke to an African American reporter saying her question was racist. Some have said that there is a racial component to this, or the president's willingness to call African Americans stupid.
Oh, yeah, good catch. No, he called April Ryan stupid. I guess you could parse it any way you want. He called women. He calls women stupid. He calls blacks stupid. Black women, African American women, women under 6 feet tall.
Do you see that?
Yeah, I do. And he plays on racial tropes that go all the way back to the beginning of this country, and the idea that
all the way back to the beginning. That's right. That's how far back Trump goes with his racism.
Black people aren't as smart as white people.
Oh my God!
We in our past had literacy tests for black people in order to vote, and I don't think
is that true. Did we have literacy tests for African Americans to vote?
I think in some parts of the Dixiecrat South, I think that is true. Those are Democrats, by the way.
Yes, Democrats. Good point.
We in our past had literacy tests for black people in order to vote, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he talks about, whether it's Don Lemon having a low IQ, or Maxine Waters has a low IQ, or LeBron James has a low IQ, or now we're supposed to believe, Abby Phillip is asking a stupid question.
I see. Okay. Well, if you take all of those people together, I can see how they has he said this about any white people? And Trump's got to watch it. Has he called any white person dumb?
Well, I'd have to think about that. But I was just wondering whether he ever said LeBron James had a low IQ.
I think he's, something similar, I'm sure. Who knows?
Well, I'm doubting it.
Well, maybe we're wrong. Maybe he is singling out African Americans for being stupid. I mean, when you put that list together, that's actually pretty convincing.
Waters has a low IQ, or LeBron
James.
James.
It's true.
Well, we know
it's
that
like the Muslim ban. There's no Muslim
no,
ban.
but
Well,
hold on a sec. But I know
we're starting to buy into their bull crap.
No. I don't know about LeBron James, but he has said it about Maxine Waters. He has said it about Don Lemon. So I'm just saying that if you put that list together, I can see how they come up with this thought, with this thinking.
Don't think it's a coincidence that he...
She even says it's not a coincidence. She's actually accusing the president now.
Talks about, whether it's Don Lemon having a low IQ.
Yes, I remember that.
Or Maxine Waters has a low IQ.
Yes, I remember that too.
Yeah, he did that all the time.
Yeah. Or LeBron James has a low IQ. Or now we're supposed to believe, Abby Phillip is asking a stupid question. There's a
which has nothing to do with IQ, by the way.
Constant theme here, and it's right out of the white supremacist playbook. I mean, this is classic white supremacy.
It's classic. It's classic white supremacists. Classic. I'm very tired of this now. And is this what the mainstream, the M5M, is going to do now? Is this their track? Huh?
I guess. I'm looking at the LeBron James stuff, and I got a video that started up automatically.
Yes, we used to do that a lot at Pod Show.
I'm looking at the.
Well, okay, that's something to be.
The reason I care about this is because this is a trick, a technique, where you
like the Muslim ban trick.
Yeah, he keeps just saying it over and over and over and over and over, and the next thing you know, it's true.
I think he said Mika Brzezinski is stupid.
He says LeBron James has just been interviewed by the dumbest man on television. This is right out of a tweet. The dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. Did he say he had a low IQ, or did he just say he's the dumbest man on television?
Well, he said that about Don Lemon, right? D. Lemon.
Yeah. But is that the same as he's got a low IQ? He's just the dumb TV guy.
No, you're right.
He says so I'm not sure that saying low IQ is a very
different. Yeah, it's very different. I agree, and you're right.
If you call someone a bonehead, does that mean you said they have low IQ? No, you call them a bonehead.
Bone. Wait a minute, bone. Because in Africa, the natives had bones through their nose. You're racist.
LeBron James just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon. He made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do.
There you go.
And then he says, I like Mike, referring to Michael Jordan, which is kind of inside basketball reference. So did he say I had a low IQ? No, they said the two of them are dumb. Okay. Not the same as low IQ, which she's been accusing Waters of. But she can have it her way in this regard. I don't think it's a complete generality because he just said he likes Mike.
Yeah. But anyway, this is what they're. It's now syndicated. The Herald Tribune in Florida. That's this is the Washington Post. Here, Washington Post is on it. Over the past several days, Trump has launched personal attacks against a trio of black female journalists. His verbal assault against black reporters, candidates, and lawmakers has renewed criticism the president employs insults rooted in racist tropes. That's where that girl got it from. Tropes, racist tropes. What exactly is a trope?
Well, a trope is like a cliche, but it's somewhere between a meme and a cliche. But let's look it up.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because that is part of. I mean, this woman who was on CNN, she really just read the Washington Post article, and that's how she came up with racist tropes.
Trope is a figurative or metaphorical use of a word or expression.
So it's kind of like one step removed from I hate you, black people?
Now that I'm looking at this definition, I'm trying to I think it's I think you'd call it like an old saying. No, it wouldn't even be that.
No, it's kind of it's closer
to be figurative or metaphorical. I don't see how it fits in, actually, to be honest about it now.
It's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. But they like the word. I noticed the left likes the word trope. I've always had a hard time using it because it just doesn't ever sound good. I don't like the sound of the word trope.
But also, what good is it? It's like, if we don't even understand what it means, why would you use it? But here he says, over the past several days,
I think they know what it means, and I think the meaning is something along the lines of what I said, which is it's kind of like a meme and a.
Okay. I got you. So blacks are stupid. Blacks have low IQ. That's the trope.
I think
because it's kind of a meme, a racist meme.
It's kind of a generality.
Got it. Yeah.
And it's figurative. Which doesn't make sense.
Well, according to the Washington Post, just to add to it, he recently called Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum a thief, which is, again, it's like black people, thieves. It's all in this context. Low IQ person, thieves, these are all tropes that are racist. I mean,
you could build a case around anybody.
Of course you can. Yes, exactly. And that's what's being done. I guess they don't have anything else to run with. Now,
it's in the rotation, and it's got to come around, and they keep trying these different things. Nothing sticks. Part of the reason nothing sticks is Trump himself. He keeps tweeting weird things that make people go off in another direction. It's like like a bunch of ants. It's like if you have a whole horde of ants and you got like one of those lighter guns, that from Scripto that you light barbecues with, and you push it down into the thing and you start moving it around and burning ants, my ant thing. And they watch them scrambling all over the place. That's kind of what Trump does with his tweets. It's like throwing some kerosene on the ants.
Yes, and we know that's the wrong thing to do because you never want to torch the ant that's taken the dead guy back to the to the mound. So I have now. Let's talk about the I'm a nationalist thing, because this is a fantastic mix of the Lear Foundation, mainstream media, fictional presidencies, and a real message meant to indoctrinate people watching it. And this is Madam Secretary, which I don't think I saw the last season, maybe not even the last two seasons. I liked in the beginning. I like Taya Leone.
I've been meaning to record this. I know what clip you're going to play, but it's like I find the show to be borderline offensive.
It got really offensive. It wasn't in the beginning. In the beginning, it was different. But now we're talking before Clinton was running.
Yeah,
to be the first female president, or really the second, as you pointed out in the newsletter.
Yeah, and that's a fact, by the way.
You want to just briefly tell everybody?
Well, during and we'll probably talk a little bit Armistice. Today's Armistice Day. Even though we don't celebrate it in the United States, we celebrate Veterans Day, which was a creation in the 50s, because the World War II veterans were just back from the war, and they said, "What do we? Who cares about these old guys? It's got to be about us." And I know it's offensive, but it seems to be that if you look into it, it seems to be what it was about. So they changed it to Veterans Day, and they still kept, I think, a World War II Memorial Day. Well, during the Woodrow Wilson administration, when after World War I, they tried to, the United Nations, the League of Nations was discussed and formed. I think it ended up in Geneva, and it was going to be the first example. And this was a globalization era,
right?
Similar to the one we have now. And that globalization era, which ended up in that war, which is the same way this one's going to end up. After the thing was over, it was one of these situations where all the the elites said, "God, this is no good. Look, we don't have servants, and we lost a butler. And, they lost all, and some of the people that write for the newspaper have been killed at this war that we told them to go to, and people came trying to steal our stuff.
And we got to do something about that.
So they formed the League of Nations, and Wilson's job was to get the United States to join, and this is going to be an organization it would have ended up like the United Nations, useless. But at the time, they thought it was a good idea. And Wilson had a tremendous stroke that completely made him unfunctional.
Right.
He should have been taken out by the 25th Amendment, by the way.
Yes.
But no, yes. Democrats don't work that way. So his wife,
now you just sound like a Republican, man. Don't do those things. It doesn't Doesn't suit you well.
People are going to bitch about me anyway. So, but it was strange to me that this guy could be incapacitated and the 25th Amendment didn't apply to him. So that means it's never going to apply to anybody. So his wife was president. She just told everybody what to do, kind of as a surrogate. And she was, she did a fine job. She couldn't. She just, she could maybe communicate with them. It's doubtful, but she used the same advisors. Nobody wanted to talk about it because it was like, oh God, the country's going to go to pot.
You know what would be fun?
Everyone finds out.
If we gave a posthumous presidential medal of honor for her service as president. just to irk Hillary. Just to irk Hillary. And put her on the de
facto presidency, the same one that somebody said we should just impeach Trump and put Hillary in. Same kind of thing.
It's fantastic.
This was only recently explored by historians.
Now,
by the way.
Another salient point you added to the newsletter was that just before what period was it? Just before, just after World War I, before World War II, that everything was borderless? No, that was
no.
That was before World War I.
30 years.
Right.
It began around 1890.
Right.
In earnest. Yes. But almost 30 years. The passport, because you do research on passports, you find they weren't even employed.
Right.
From about 1890 to the war. And so people could roam around aimlessly, which allowed this one nutcase from Serbia to go shoot the guy, the Ferdinand douchebag guy.
I learned something about that today. Archduke Franz Ferdinand was murdered in Sarajevo, June 28th, 1940, in his car, his open car.
Not 1940.
1914.
Yeah.
Do you know what his license plate was?
Was it a bunch of threes?
No. A for Alpha, 11-11-18.
I don't believe that.
Yes. Go look at the interwebs. There's lots of photographic evidence.
Well, I'm going to have to look into that because it just sounds too
and this
phony.
Conspiracy that he knew that it would be over. I'm just telling you, go ahead and look. The conspiracy about 11-11-8 has been around for a while.
The Photoshoppers are out there.
I don't think it's Photoshop.
It's unlikely. That doesn't make any sense. But okay.
All right.
I'll look into it.
Just saying. I'm not saying that aliens came here and put it down as be careful, you'll be celebrating Armistice Day 100 years. It's just a coincidence.
Anyway, so Ferdinand was gunned down in this situation, and so Austria declared war on Serbia, and then that blossomed into World War I, awkwardly, people had to take sides.
Yeah. All right, so
for some reason, I don't know why Austria didn't take the brunt of the blame at the end. Everything was blamed on the Germans.
Yeah.
Who I guess got into it.
I just saw, by coincidence, I saw The Sound of Music. I didn't know that there was a 2015 musical they did, BBC did.
You mean the old musical was redone by the BBC in 2015?
Yes, exactly.
I saw it. I saw
liked
parts
it.
of it.
I liked it.
I hated it.
Oh, yeah. See, I like that stuff. And I was looking at the
I don't mind good Broadway plays on Broadway on the stage, but when they're put on TV and they're singing out of the blue,
I like it.
It's completely. I thought the performances were weak.
Yeah, I liked
it. I didn't think the actor who played the top D'Urberville, whatever his name was, what's the main guy?
Yeah, I don't know his name.
He not D'Urberville, obviously. I'm just kidding, but I thought he couldn't act.
Well, what the reason why I stuck with it is the actress who played Maria. I'm like, I know her. Who the hell? And I still don't remember her real name, but she is Dawn in EastEnders, which is the soap that's been running in the UK for 50 years. I'm like, oh, that's Dawn. Okay, and then I kind of got sucked into it. I thought it was great. I liked it.
She was okay.
Yeah. Well, yes, but the question is, did you donate?
To what?
Well, it was.
That's the other thing.
It was donation drive.
I had to point this out to people in the house.
Yes.
I said, see those two people asking to donate? They never mention the station name, do they?
No.
It's a package they sent to all the stations of these same two people begging for money.
Yep.
They don't even personalize it to the local station.
Yep.
It says, see the number below? The number below? Call that number to support
your
local station.
This station. No, this station. I heard him say that too. But there wasn't even a tote bag. I mean, it's just, here's the DVD. Yeah, it's so ineffective. It's so ineffective. They're really not doing it right. Anyway, back to Madam Secretary. And well, actually, I do want to come back to Armistice Day after this, because I have a little analysis of Macron and Trump. But this, and I'd heard about it, I hadn't seen it either. In fact, I still have not seen it. I really enjoy not having seen this and hearing it, because we're going to hear the fantastic acting talents of, we have Hillary Clinton, Colin Powell, and Madeleine Albright, all former secretaries of state. And this is Madam Secretary Terry Leone playing.
I believe it was the premiere episode for the new season.
It can be, yes.
But
it
was either was or it wasn't.
Well, you believed, and I said it can. I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, go on.
Yeah, you just okay.
It's just usage. I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay. It's all right. But this was clearly aligned with the messaging about nationalism, with Trump saying, I'm a nationalist, and just blatantly stating this is not what it means. This is what it used to mean. Well, you'll hear it in this clip.
Well, I do appreciate that. Come on, please sit.
The kind of time when people need to rally around.
Well,
it's so good of you to consult with your predecessors. We did it all the time, so thanks for asking us.
Well, again, the president has asked me to give a speech after the signing ceremony to address the attack on the White House.
You bear a heavy burden, Elizabeth. The whole world will be watching you.
No pressure.
Thanks for that reminder. Yeah. Right, no pressure. Well, what do you say in the wake of a nightmare like this?
You need to reassure the people that they are safe, because we are resolute in our efforts to defeat this enemy.
Yeah, you should hold up a vial and say, this little bit could kill everybody in this whole room. That would be the way to do it, Elizabeth.
Resolute in our efforts to defeat this enemy.
Well, that's a start, but I think we also have to remember that those who attacked us are resolute too.
And you will have to reassure people about
the acting is really bad. But
you think it was obviously they weren't going to do 2 takes.
No. Well, no, I think they may have. It's cut together, is what you're hearing. They may not have even all been there at the same time, for all I know. But listen,
one shot.
But Clinton, and I heard her a couple of times. I'll just mention this up front. I heard her in her previous interviews that we've played with Kara Swisher and all these, whatever she was doing, the lesbians in tech. She kept saying, it's very simple. E pluribus unum, out of many one. She's been repeating this for a while, and now we know why.
This enemy.
Well, that's a start, but I think we also have to remember that those who attacked us are resolute too.
And you will have to reassure people about their safety. You can remind them that we do have the world's greatest military to protect and defend them.
But as great as our military power is, that is not where our real strength lies.
Absolutely. Our strength lies in our core democratic values, in our Constitution.
Elizabeth, I was a little girl in London during World War II when the Germans were bombing. I learned later that 3 of my grandparents were murdered by the Nazis in concentration camps. And so the threat of nationalism is not just a theory.
So this is very good. This is Madeleine Albright, who I believe indeed she is old enough to have witnessed the bombings. I think that's probably historical. And by the way, do you hear how Hillary Clinton sounds exactly the same as when she's not lying?
No, she's just a monotone.
When she's not acting, I mean.
Kicked to this day out of people who I remember years ago said, Hillary, she's going to be the first female president. And the great thing about her, she's a wonderful, one of the greatest public speakers I've ever heard. I'm thinking, do you listen to her?
Yeah, no, I've listened to it.
She talks to everyone as though they're 2 years old.
Nazis in concentration camps.
And here we go with the nationalism.
And so the threat of nationalism is not just a theory. I went through it once, and I don't intend to go through it again.
So she's saying that she was bombed by the Nazis, and that was nationalism, and she doesn't intend to go through nationalism again. She makes quite a shortcut.
The nationalistic threat is really expanding, and more countries are being caught in this trap. It's contagious. It splits us apart. It makes us more difficult to deal with the issue, and it becomes even more contagious.
don't know what is the issue, man. It's the issue.
Says it makes it more difficult to deal with the issue by being nationalist, and by the way, Trump's definition of nationalism is America first. The French, by the way, hugely French first. Friends of mine.
Well, of course.
You buy the Renault, you don't buy the Honda. A friend of mine lived in France for like 5 or 6 years, and he bought a Honda Civic, and all he got was grief from his neighbors
because he didn't buy French.
Yeah.
Right. But this is not even about that. This is just about saying when the president says he's a nationalist, he's actually a racist. That's all that this is, and it's 2 minutes of it.
It splits us apart. It makes us more difficult to deal with the issue, and it becomes even more contagious.
They attack what has made America great, and still does, and that is our diversity. I mean, look at us.
And the attackers wanted to destroy that, to divide
Look at you white folk. No, I think Condi is there too.
Oh, is Condi there too?
I believe she was.
Oh.
So, Elizabeth, I think what we're all saying is talk about what unites us, even at this moment of peril. Remind Americans of our nation's original motto, something that I think about a lot and which seems more important today than ever. E pluribus unum, out of many, one.
Hillary, you're so right, because we all unified depend on each other.
America, Americans.
All Americans.
All Americans.
Yes. Where we go one, where we go all. Woo!
Well, maybe Condi wasn't there. She would have jumped in on that one. I thought she was.
Now, do you want to hear the actual speech that she made after this advice?
Condi?
No, the fake Madam Secretary. So she got this advice from Hillary, from Madeleine, and from Colin, and then she did her speech. I cut it down because it was too long, of course.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Prime Minister Khatri. Prime Minister Wadali, your courage and determination have made humankind safer from the second greatest threat it faces. What is an even greater threat than nuclear weapons? That which makes the use of them possible. Hate. Specifically, the blind hatred one group or nation can have for another. And that is why I am convinced that nationalism is the existential threat of our time.
Nationalism is not just bad. No, it's not just Nazi. It's the existential threat of our time. Meaning, extermination of all of us. We're all going to die because of nationalism.
I want to be clear. Nationalism is not the same as patriotism.
Wow. Did the dictionary change? Let me just check this for a second. Nationalism. Definition. Okay, noun, patriotic. Patriotic feeling, principles, or efforts.
Seems patriotic to me.
Let me try the Merriam-Webster. I may be doing the wrong one.
Yeah,
loyalty
maybe.
and devotion to a nation. Oh, okay. It doesn't say patriotism. I always thought
that the definition of patriotism. Let's look up the definition of patriotism.
Okay, patriotism. Definition of patriotism: the quality of being patriotic, vigorous support for one's country.
Sounds like nationalism.
Yeah. Well, according to the fake Madam Secretary, it no longer means patriotic.
I want to be clear. Nationalism is not the same as patriotism. It's a perversion of patriotism.
A perversion of patriotism. What's the dictionary term for that? If it's the opposite,
an antonym.
Yeah, an antonym. Yes, it should be listed as an antonym in the dictionary. It's perversion of patriotism. Just
Let's
horrible.
Look at the definition of perversion.
I didn't need to hit a jingle.
Perversion. The alteration of something from its original course, meaning, or this is the perversion.
She's perverting it. Yes, exactly. That is the perversion by saying it's no longer no longer synonymous with patriotism.
The alteration of something from its original course, meaning, or a state to a distortion or corruption of what was first intended. Not intended last week.
Jeez. All right.
There you go.
Let's continue.
Distortion, misrepresentation, falsification, travesty, misinterpretation, misconstruction, twisting, corruption, subversion, and subversion is what we're dealing with here.
Exactly.
Nationalism, the belief system held by those who attacked us, promotes the idea that inclusion and diversity represent weakness.
God. Nationalism.
Lear calling.
Hello, Hollywood Foundation. Norman Lear speaking.
That the only way to succeed is to give blind allegiance to the supremacy of one race over all others. Nothing could be less American. Look where isolationism has gotten us in the past. 2 world wars, 70 million dead.
What? Hold on a second. What? Because we isolated ourselves? 2 world wars, 70 million dead?
World War I.
We saved people's asses. What? Look what isolationism.
We jump into World War I. That would I say, yeah, there's isolationism there. We had nothing to do with that war. But we went over there. I point out in the newsletter. Why? What was who was picking on us?
Well, but it's worse. She's saying because of our isolationism, which, by the way, you can't on one hand say it's about race, white nationalists, about, anybody who's not the uber race, and then all of a sudden say, look at what happened with isolationism. Well, that's about countries not participating. You can't have it both ways. It's either nationalism about your national country, or it's nationalism about the type of people you have in your nation. It's not both. Or maybe it is in this world. Yes?
This was done to confuse. They couldn't really come up with a concise. This doesn't work.
No,
it was a piece of propaganda that was pretty much, in my opinion, junk, poorly executed. It had Lear Foundation written all over it. When I first saw this thing, I was lazy not to clip it weeks ago.
Oh, you actually saw the whole episode?
Yeah, I watched it. I have and I thought it was borderline sick, and I think it's offensive. I mean, how stupid do they think the public is? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Well,
what am I saying? I was just bitching in the last show about Prop 10 and Prop 6 in California. Prop 6 would have given you some tax money back, but nobody in California wants that. They want to be taxed to death. And Prop 10 was going to put rent control, which is a leftist idea at the base, giving it back to the local towns instead of having the state run it, which they do a poor job of, which is classic thing you should vote for. But because the real estate interest came in and told all these dummies, oh, no, it's bad. Yeah. Okay, I'll vote no.
Let's finish this up.
Others. Nothing could be less American. Look where isolationism has gotten us in the past. 2 world wars, 70 million dead. Never again can we go back to those dark times when fear and hatred, like a contagion, infected the world. That, as much as ending the threat of nuclear war, is what today is about. And it's why we must never lose sight of our common humanity, our common values, and our common decency. I was reminded recently of our nation's founding motto, E pluribus unum.
There she is again.
Out of many, one.
And did you hear what she said? Someone reminded me recently, Hills, E pluribus unum. So they're pushing her campaign slogan, I think. I don't know why she's saying this continuously, but they pushed it in twice in this piece.
Oh, they got to have something in 2020 to
13 disparate colonies became one country, one people, and today we call on all Americans and people everywhere to reject the scourge of nationalism. Because governments can't legislate tolerance or eradicate hate. That's why each one of us has to find the beauty in our differences instead of
okay.
It's yucky.
Yeah,
now, I want to say just reiterate one more point. Our isolationism didn't get us killed in World War I and World War II. It's our abnegation of isolationism and saying, no, we're going to get involved in all this stuff overseas, which the founding fathers, by the way, specifically said not to do.
Don't do it, yeah.
But we do it. To the point where now we're stuck because if we our isolationism didn't get us over there. It was our dropping the idea.
Yes.
Now it's too late. Now you're stuck. Now we're the world's policemen.
So I think another lie, although I couldn't quite figure out what the genesis of it was, is this idea that Trump, I'm so tired of it, that Trump didn't want to do the wreath-laying ceremony because of a little bit of rain. And, the tweeters were just filled with, what an asshole. Men were shoulder to shoulder, millions of them in the trenches for weeks on end, in the rain, in the mud, and our stupid-ass president can't even, raindrops keep falling on his head. Meanwhile, once I saw the wreath-laying thing, I'm like, oh, no wonder. Did you see all the photos of Merkel and Macron? They're walking in the meadow, hand in hand. She's nuzzling up to him. I'm not kidding. Kisses him behind his, on the back of his cheek. Who wants to be a part of that visual? Here's a little press clipping of it.
It has been the scene of triumph and shame in 2 world wars. And on Saturday, for the first time since World War II, a French and German leader returned to a clearing in Compiègne Forest, inside a replica of the train wagon in which the armistice-ending World War I was signed, and to which Hitler returned to take the French surrender in 1940 before destroying the site. Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel unveiled a plaque and signed a guest book. The wagon was rebuilt along with the site after World War II, in part in homage to Maréchal Foch, the Great War's supreme Allied commander. A statue of Foch is also at the site, which holds powerful symbolism for the two nations, once fierce rivals and now united as the driving force behind the European Union. A partnership Macron and Merkel seem to be saying that would remain eternal long after their passing.
No, please. We all know the next war will be France, and Germany. It's always the same. But I think what was overlooked possibly is that, Trump probably had his meeting with Putin while everyone was at the ceremony. In fact, there's another piece, just a piece of video where Putin jumps out of the lineup, runs over to Trump, shakes his hand, thumbs up, goes back. It's like, oh, yeah, they got something going on. They're brewing on something. But the irony of all of this, as we celebrate peace, 100 years, the armistice of, the peace of World War I, it was the war to end all wars. The irony of it is that what was really being discussed was war stuff. Right. So Trump is on the plane. Then apparently Macron says somewhere, well, we got to have our own army here in Europe. We got to be, we can't always trust the U.S. It's a little more nuanced in the French version. But, with Russia, China, whatever it is, we need more war stuff. Trump then immediately starts tweeting saying, yeah, well, this is rude since we're paying for everything, you frog. And then they sit down together. And again, you got to listen to what Trump's saying. I think what happened is he had a quick chat with him. And by the way, Macron is touching him the whole time. He's patting him on the leg, touching his knee, touching him on the arm the whole time. It's, which that's actually, when someone does that, it's odd. But maybe they're great buddies. I don't know. But it sounds to me like the conversation went something like this. Okay. What I meant to say was, yeah, we're probably going to buy more stuff from America to beef up our side of the equation. I think Trump is there on a weapons call. I think he's there selling. I think okay, Macron, you want to buy stuff?
He was pretty sedate the whole time while he was there. I have the CBS rundown of this, which is a minute 14. This is Trump meets Macron.
I want to hear that because I also have the full audio.
Trump vented on Twitter about the president of France. The two leaders brushed it off. Wei Zhejiang is traveling with the president.
We have become very good friends over the last couple of years.
President Trump and President Emmanuel Macron put their good friendship on display with the body language to prove it. They also found a common message to tamp down their ongoing conflict over defense spending.
I do share President Trump's views that we need a much better burden sharing
within NATO.
I appreciate what you're saying about burden sharing.
But minutes before landing in Paris, the president tweeted, President Macron of France has just suggested that Europe build its own military in order to protect itself from the U.S., China, and Russia. Very insulting. Mr. Trump was asked about the tweet.
We're getting along from the standpoint of fairness, and I want it to be fair.
President Trump and the First Lady attended a social luncheon with their French counterparts, but they scrapped a scheduled visit to an American cemetery, citing bad weather. Meanwhile, the president continues to deal with the backlash over acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, who will oversee the special counsel's investigation into Russian meddling.
Now, that's a very dishonest report. I mean, extremely dishonest. I'll play you the actual audio from that meeting between the two. Macron is groveling. It didn't sound like he was groveling in that report, did it?
No.
Ugh.
Not at least, and that's not the impression we were given.
From the standpoint of fairness, and I want it to be fair. We want to help Europe, but it has to be fair. Right now, the burden sharing has been largely on the United States, as the president will say, and he understands that. And he understands that the United States can only do so much in fairness to the United States. So we're rebuilding our military. We just had approved $716 billion. The year before that, we had $700 billion. So we're almost completely rebuilding our military with the latest and the greatest. And we want to absolutely be there. We want to help.
You actually want to be there? I don't know, what, the bids or whatever?
We want to be a part of it. But different countries have to also help. That's only fair. And I think the president, we've already discussed this, and the president and I very much agree on that.
I do agree. I think we work very closely together in Syria. President Trump reminded you what happened the 13th of April this year.
He's talking about the 13th of April when America, the Brits, and the French bombed Syria.
A superb operation against chemical weapons used there. And we work very closely together in Middle East, in Africa, and so on. But it's unfair to have the European security today being assured just by the United States, and we need a much better burden sharing. That's why I do believe that we need more European capacities, more European defense in order to take this part of the burden. What President Trump has to protect or to defend one of the states of the United States, he doesn't ask France or Germany or another government of Europe to finance it. That's why I do believe that we need more investment. It's exactly what we do in France. It's the first increase in terms of budget for defense for the coming years. We will reach the 2%. But that's why I do believe that we need more.
So the CBS report could not have been further from what was said, from the truth. He's saying the president's right. We got to up. We're upping our budget. We're going to have more stuff. It's not fair that America is paying for that. When Trump needs help, he doesn't call us. None of that was in the report.
Nope. And this surprises you?
Well, no. You know, I don't think I have the clip. There was like 2 or 3 rallies ago that the president did. And I don't know if I just forgot to play it but there was someone had a medical issue, a medical episode, and you might have seen it. Trump actually stopped everything.
Stopped the rally.
Stopped the rally, and it was a good 5, maybe 10 minutes. And then near the end, everyone was reasonably quiet. People started singing Amazing Grace. It was really a beautiful moment it's like, holy crap, are they singing? And it just kind of swelled up from nowhere. And it was very, very, it was a nice humane experience. I mean, even I forgot to play the clip. We're so not used to that. But there's nice, by omission sometimes. It's so slanted what's being portrayed.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's the trick.
Omission is the best way to do it. It really is.
Well, omission is what the right has always bitched about. The conservative media is that it's not that the people can't do the reporting. Mm-hmm. It's just it's not what they put in. It's what they leave out.
Leave out, yes.
And I'm going to take it right to. I'm going to take it right to what my biggest complaint is and what they're leaving out, which is young Kim.
Yes. You know, young Kim apparently has been around for a while.
I think, well, she was, I think, chief of staff for Royce.
I think someone sent us a note that she'd actually been, she had been in Congress in 2014. It's not the first time she.
I don't believe so. Well, it's easy enough to figure out. We just go to.
It's quite a book of knowledge day. But I'm pretty sure that. But anyway, I'll look her up and you tell the story about young Kim, or was that it?
No, I've got some clips.
Okay.
No. She was a state legislator.
Okay.
And she was the first Korean American to become state legislator.
Okay, that's not the same. All right.
Then she went to Congress.
Gotcha.
She wasn't in Congress and became a state legislator. Right. Nobody does that.
Right. I hear you. But she but she was not mentioned. In fact, at all.
She hasn't yet to be mentioned. In fact, but I'm finding another peculiarity. Let's have everything on young Kim. I think I have a clip where they talk about this. I think it's Shields and Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. Shields and Brooks, 33 of 34 women. Play this little short clip.
33 of 34 women elected to the House for the first time were Democrats.
Wait. She's the 34th?
No, the 34th is Carol Miller. She's the Republican. If you go to roll call, which is serving the public since 1955, is the great congressional following operation. Meet Carol Miller. She could be the only new Republican woman coming to Congress next year. The GOP's only woman so far will represent West Virginia's 3rd district. And they have a picture. They like to promote this woman. She's one of those older women that has like kind of the bleached, Burns, Montgomery Burns from the Simpsons kind of skin. Is too white and it's all wrinkly, and she has to wear sunglasses and a hat. She won't even wear some bronzer or anything. But then listen to the beginning of this.
The outrage, not even wearing bronzer.
Well,
think of the people.
If you look at this picture of her, it's like, oh yeah, I know, that's an old white woman. I'm gonna read you the first line of this article about Carol Miller. Among the 33 new women elected to the House this week, only one is a Republican. Instead of, the 33 meme is in play, and I realize it with the Brooks and Shield comment. 33, that's a magic number. Now, this is taken further with Democracy Now! Refuses to talk about it. And the thing that I've also noticed is that there's another woman, because they keep talking about the 2 Muslims who got elected.
Yes.
Well, who are these 2 Muslims?
Are they both in Minneapolis or Minnesota, or is it just one?
No. Play the 2 Muslim women diversity clip from CBS from our last show.
It appears diversity was perhaps the biggest winner in this year's midterm elections, which saw a record number of women run for office. Jim Axelrod introduces us to 2 from the class of 2018.
While Election Day marked its fair share of firsts, the stories of 2 particular trailblazers may well carry the most power. That is, if you're taking their measure not by where they finished their journeys, but from where they started.
We are done waiting. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Let's get to work.
In Minnesota, 36-year-old Yilhan Omar became the first ever Somali American elected to Congress.
Here in Minnesota, it's a cold state, but the people have warm hearts, and we don't just welcome immigrants, but we send them to Washington.
My mom is born in Somalia. She and her family fled the violence of civil war when she was 8. After years in a refugee camp in Kenya, she immigrated here when she was 12, learning English in 3 months.
That's the America I'm going to go fight for.
And mastering politics in the years that followed.
I'm proud to be able to bring my voice out.
27-year-old Democrat Safia Wazir is the first refugee ever elected to New Hampshire State House. Her family fled Afghanistan and the Taliban 21 years ago, spent 10 years in a refugee camp before making their way here. She studied the dictionary at night to learn English.
One thing a younger generation could do is the energy that you have. You want to be the advocate for seniors and young people and working families.
These days, our politics clearly can frustrate, anger, and divide. But these 2 winners provide a much-needed reminder our elections still have the power to inspire.
Now, they never mention these are Muslim women. And the specific thing they never mention is Rashida Tlaib, another young Kim that nobody wants to talk about.
Wait, there's more than one young Kim?
Well, I'm saying somebody that's been obviously blackballed from coverage. She is a radical's radical, this Tlaib woman. She's from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, and she's new. She's wait
a minute, so they don't even mention her? No, this is the first time I'm hearing the name.
Well, that's proof. They don't even mention her. The only
she's Democrat?
Democrat socialist.
That's why. Oh, she's in the AOC camp.
Yes.
Yeah, another marginalized. Oh, she can't even get paid to get an apartment.
So let's go with Tlaib, which is spelled Tlaib. And let's go the Tlaib intro by Amy, and tell me the kind of the earmarks of this little celebration, some of the other stuff about this woman. You'll get a kick out of it.
Tuesday evening, Palestinian-American Rashida Tlaib in Michigan and Somali-American Ilhan Omar in Minnesota became the first Muslim women elected to Congress. Rashida Tlaib is...
They don't even mention the Afghani woman from New Hampshire.
No, but that's just...
This is all segmenting. It's unbelievable to me.
Really?
Democratic socialist who supports the Palestinian right of return and a one-state solution. She also supports Medicare for all, a $15 minimum wage.
I think 15-minute minimum wage is better.
And abolishing ICE. The child of immigrants, Tlaib has spoken out against the Trump administration's travel bans. This is Rashida Tlaib celebrating her historic victory.
I want you to know my mom, who's from a small village in the West Bank, they're literally glued. It's like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. And now it's more than that. They're glued to the TV. My grandmother, my aunts, my uncles in Palestine are sitting back and watching their granddaughter.
We got some Iranian women in the audience, I hear.
Palestinians do the same thing.
Oh, they do. Palestinians do it too?
I want them to know, as I uplift the families of the 13th Congressional District, I'll uplift them every single day being who I am as a proud Palestinian American and woman. Yes!
In 2016, Rashida Tlaib made news when she confronted then-candidate Donald Trump at the Detroit Economic Club. She got up and shouted, "Have you ever read the U.S. Constitution?" She was taken out by security.
She was removed.
Yes.
Use the proper word.
Taken out.
She wasn't taken out. She was removed.
We took her out, boss.
She replaces that old hack, the senile old fart, John Conyers, who's now 89.
Oh, geez, yes, okay, he's gone.
He's just he was useless. But
well, the last decade, yeah.
Well, so she does an interview with her, and she has a bunch of interesting things I think are worth playing. These are all short clips because they're just. I mean, she's already full of herself. She's, let's just put this in perspective for a second.
So this is DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, same as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has been completely sidelined, marginalized, is also not mentioned in many of these news reports the way we expected, because she is, of course, the shining light, the hero.
Yeah, and I believe is. Yeah.
And she stands for the same things. It's Medicare for all, free school for everybody.
No borders.
No borders.
No ICE. ICE has got to go.
No ICE. Yeah, right. Yes. Okay. All right.
Without even stepping – now the difference between, of course, AOC and this woman and the other woman and some of these other people is that referring to Young Kim. Young Kim was a state legislature. Rashida is also a state legislator that moved up.
Huh.
So that makes, it's AOC's got nothing going on. She's 29 and she's stupid.
Yeah.
So let's see what she's already got her mind made up a bunch of things. She hasn't even stepped foot in office yet. Let's listen to her on what is she going to do? Will she want to impeach Trump?
Will you try to impeach President Trump?
Let me guess the answer. Let me think. Oh, let me see. I think she would say. She wouldn't just say yes. She'd say, as soon as possible. First order of business.
Yes, I truly believe that he's obstructing justice. It is very clear that something is wrong within our own government. You can like the man, but I could tell you, I know you like the rule of law about more. And in America, there is laws that we all follow.
There is laws. There is laws, baby. There is laws. There is many laws.
That we all should equally be held accountable to. And I can tell you very strongly that this is not political for me. I mean, he could be a Democratic president, and I would still say the same thing. Obstruction of justice. And as an attorney myself,
I need to straight. Is it the Democratic Party or the Democrat Party? What is the
technically the Democrat Party?
So why is she saying Democratic president? If she's a member of the Democrat Party, it's pretty much saying
This is flipped around.
No, I don't like it.
For me, I mean, he could be a Democratic president, and I would still say the same thing. Obstruction of justice. And as an attorney myself, I can tell you, when we start kind of turning our heads and letting a little bit of things slip by, like what we've seen the last few days, we are jeopardizing our own democracy. We are jeopardizing that accountability and that balance of government that's there, that is so critical for us to live in a free country. We cannot allow him to...
So this is very typical, this response. There's 19 seconds left. It's no examples, just saying things. Has she said yet, enemy of the people, the press, press freedom? That's got to be in here.
Taint this process that's there for a reason. And I'm very much willing to start investigating and leaning towards that if he has anything to do with obstructing justice. And it pretty much sounds like he is trying to sway this investigation and trying to make sure that he protects himself instead of protecting our own country.
Oh, way to go. Where's she from?
Michigan, Detroit.
Way to go, Michigan. Detroit.
So let's hear. Yeah, well, Conyers.
Jeez.
They had but I mean, area that kept electing him. Let's listen to what she says on Pelosi. Do you think that she's going to support Pelosi?
Well, if Pelosi doesn't seem to be supporting her, so I would say no.
Will you support Nancy Pelosi, who's just announced she will go for the House speakership?
You know, I'm really so much focused on helping the other women of color. I mean, I don't know if you know, it's not just me and Ilhan Omar, but some of the youngest members of Congress, beautiful colors of women are coming into the United States Congress. From Ayanna to Johanna to Deb Haaland to the beautiful Sharice Davids. We have such an incredible class that is coming, and I'm so focused on really trying to uplift them, to lean on each other, to making sure that we are able to serve the families and the residents that believed in us back home very effectively.
Now, if I were doing anti-Democrat Party news reporting, the way I see it on television about Trump specifically, whereas he was dancing on the graves of those who didn't want his support, who didn't support him, the Never Trumpers. Look what's happening with the Never Pelosi's. With the DSAs, they're not being danced on their graves because they won. Worse, they're being ignored. They're being, what you said, compartmentalized, being shut out completely from the party. And these are the exact people that diversity is supposed to uplift.
And so we want to focus really on that and focus on making sure that we have a seat at the table, that we can truly be heard, not just displayed as like, oh, look, our caucus is now diverse. Great. Now put us at a table where we can actually have a voice, where we can actually feel like we can make a difference in a lot of the issues that we feel is critically important for our families back home.
In other words, no.
No, no, she does not support Pelosi. No.
I have one more where she tries to explain what Democrat socialism is.
It's my favorite question. Yes.
And this is only, I'm sorry. This is,
Yeah.
You're a member of Democratic Socialists of America. Explain what democratic socialism is.
Yes.
You know, for me, right now in Detroit, this is what it means. I have fought so heavily against corporate tax breaks, especially because I've seen our schools in Detroit close down. I mean, close to 60 schools have already closed down in the city of Detroit while we're channeling public money. These are our own taxes into a hockey stadium. The Red Wings hockey stadium downtown Detroit, 60% of the funds that went towards that hockey stadium that could have gone to schools. We're talking about $400 million away from schools into an adult playground, a for-profit industry. That, to me, is completely unethical, immoral. And for me, it means living in a just, fair, equitable society. And that is not fair when you have billionaires in the corporate welfare line, when our children are still hungry, when our schools are still underfunded, where I can't even get, our fire hydrants in some of our neighborhoods fixed, or I can't even understand right now the lack of resources that we have to deal with the increasing concentration of poverty in many of the neighborhoods. It's wrong and truly, to me, against what I believe is the role of government, which is it should be about people, not corporations.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for at the end there about people, not corporations, and fire hydrants.
Well, I didn't learn anything about democratic socialism.
It's about people, not corporations.
Yeah. Which is just a bromide again. A trope.
Yeah, it's a trope. It's a trope. Before we take a break, I saw one of our friends yesterday.
Okay.
A friend you introduced me to many, many, many moons ago in the beginning of the No Agenda show. I got a tweet on Friday.
Is it a female?
No.
Okay.
I got a tweet on Friday from Roger McGuinn.
Oh, yeah, Roger.
And he was in Austin, the final show of his Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, the 50th anniversary tour.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, why don't you come by?" I got to tell you, when one of the birds tweets you, I think that's cred. A little bit. Yeah, it's Roger McGuinn, man. Actually, not just Roger, Chris Hillman, Marty Stewart, they were doing this. This was a very interesting show that he did. Very bluegrass and everything. But he says hi, by the way.
Hi back when you see him. Did you go to the concert?
Of course I did. We went backstage. Camilla was there. We hung out a little bit. And the thing with Roger is, he texts me like, "Okay, got backstage passes for you at Will Call." It's like, "Okay, we're walking over." He said, "Are you there yet?" So no, we're getting there. I'm here. He's the star of the show. He's like standing by Will Call, ready to take us backstage. And you know how he talks. He kind of talks like this. He's very soft spoken when he speaks. So anyway, so great time. We had, it was just fun to see him again. He's 76 now. He looks pretty good.
He does. Well, he exercises bicycles.
Oh, really?
Even though he has a bad back. He's got one.
You don't think there's any Botox going on there, do you think?
Not really.
You don't think so?
I would doubt it. It's possible.
Yeah, he's smooth, man. His face is smooth. Oh, look, I'm 54.
Maybe he had a grind.
A grind? Grind? What is this?
Grind your face down.
What is this procedure called a grind?
Yeah, the grind.
Anyway, he did give me one great idea, which I wanted to share, because this may be our ticket out of here. Mine, for sure.
A ticket.
My ticket out of this godforsaken gig.
Are you going to leave me stuck?
Well, maybe I can work you into it.
I'm not worrying about it.
So here's what he says. He says they have been around the world. As you know, he doesn't like to fly. And in fact, they were hopping in the van and driving back to Florida last night.
Yeah, their van.
Yeah, the van. And so he says, we've been around the world for free. And Camilla starts to explain how this whole thing works is the cruise lines. They've been on 30 cruises first class around the world. And here's how they do it. They sell a Roger McGuinn lecture, 45 minutes, 2 lectures during the whole cruise. And then you get all your food and drink and everything for free. I'm like, this is great. He says, "Oh, you could do this so easy." I'm like, but yeah, you're Roger McGuinn. You tell a story, you pick up a guitar, and you play Tambourine Man. He says, "No, you just get a PowerPoint and you just tell stories about the music videos, play some music videos." And, Tina's going, "Yeah, I'll help you put that presentation together." Like, this is a great idea.
You could do it.
And he says that the audience is just about cruise taken age right now.
Yeah, I think so.
I think this is an exciting prospect.
I think you should go for it.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, John C., where the C stands for Centenary Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning to all the boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and the dames and knights out there.
In the morning to the troll room. Whenever we fire up the bat signal, it goes out through... It goes out through the tweeters and the mastodons. Everyone rushes off to the troll room, noagendastream.com. And good to see everybody there. A little slow today, trolls, but good to have you. Also, in the morning to, let me see, I believe it was Mike Riley who brought us the artwork for episode 1084, Complex Instrument, the title of that. This was the Joe Rogan Alien artwork with Adam Curry, inventor of the podcast, and Bob C. Doyle, some tech guy, which got big laughs. People like this art.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
It's one of the funnier pieces that we've done recently.
So Tina was flying back from Chicago, and she said, I listened to the show. I really laughed when you played the Bob C. Doyle. I said, yeah. And what do you think of the history of podcasts? He said, no, I fell asleep right after that.
Yeah,
well,
somebody trimmed it and put it on SoundCloud.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
With some original art, says The History of Podcasting by Adam Curry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So be on the lookout.
All righty.
We have a few people to thank, including a super night. Sir Kirk from the Happy Valley, $101,111.18. Belated congratulations on the 11 years and thank you for your service. There are too many 11s today not to donate to the #1 podcast in the universe. Please keep up the great work and stay sane in the morning. Sir Kirk from Happy Valley. No jingles. No.
Well, in the morning to you, Sir Kirk. Thank you very much. This is fantastic. You put in an 18 there. I see.
Yeah, for
late 18. I was thinking that the name of the 11 donation isn't that like a sack of sticks? Isn't that what we had originally? We had a name for it. 11-11-11.
Oh, I don't remember the sack of sticks.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
I should mention something. I want to mention it now. Although I probably should mention it on the second part, but I don't want to forget. This is also Eric DeShill and his wife Dee is anniversary because everybody in the family, like JC was married on 12/12, myself and Mimi were married on 8/8. And Eric is married on 11/11, which is Armistice Day.
Well, congratulations.
I say congratulations. But the kicker is, which I could have put in the newsletter if I'd known, because I'm not. Somebody has to tell me some of these things.
You barely know your grandchild's name.
The point is that this is their 11th anniversary on 11/11.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So if anybody's a big fan of Eric DeShill, and I'm sure there's a few of you.
Send him a note.
Send him a note.
Shill@noagendanation.com.
Shill@noagendanation.com.
Oh, okay.
Happy anniversary.
Well,
11/11/11. We got 11s everywhere.
Yay.
Although it didn't show up in the donation amounts necessarily. Milton Cuevas in Noblesville, Indiana, $500. Please use this donation to establish a Jim Acosta Don't Accost Me Jim fund. This guy is in serious need of help. A little Nancy Jobs karma and American team jingle for my mom and goat karma.
Okay, we can do that.
If there's a need for a rescue mission, when the world is threatened, when the world needs help, it calls on America. And that's the story.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You got karma.
Sir Zander Hochsbergen, Baron of the Alps from Zandam. 3333.
He sends kisses.
Why do I have to sound like a Nazi drill instructor to get this accent down?
It's who you are.
33333. Keep the show going, guys.
Cushies.
Is that kisses? What does that mean?
Yes, cushies is kisses.
Cushies, the Baron of the Alps, Zander from Zandam.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Malinowski, parts unknown. See email for note. Oh, okay. Well, I have his note right here then.
That's good.
I planned ahead. It does happen once every few months. ITM, gents, long-time boner, first-time donor. Been listening religiously since early 2012 when I had a 2-hour commute to work twice weekly. Well, that's when people listen. That's a terrible commute. Coincidence? I think not. The media deconstruction you two have done has completely changed the way I view media and world events. The No Agenda show is my only source for news as I ditched cable.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying
Space
this.
Force.
Oops. Sorry. Shut up.
A lot of people say that, too.
Sorry.
Space Force.
Yes.
You hear a lot of people say that they ditch cable?
No, they say that they use No Agenda as the primary news resource.
That a lot.
And I'll say that I think in general, we're still obviously certainly in this time since we deconstruct media, we're very beholden to the U.S. media. So it's a lot of Trump, Trump, Trump. But if I open the European newspapers, there's a lot of Trump, Trump, Trump today as well. But yeah, I think you get
Australia, same thing.
Australia, yeah, I think we give you enough to get by and hang out at the water cooler at your coffee clutch.
You can hang in there.
Yeah, I think so.
The camaraderie you both have mixed with the playful bickering makes for not only an informative but entertaining show. I'm hoping the show continues for infinity.
Yes, please do not confuse professionalism with camaraderie.
This is something I always wondered about John, but I've never heard in the many years that I've been following him.
Okay.
John, do you use the keyboard layout that your uncle created or get any royalty checks for those that choose to use it as their primary keyboard? He's talking about the Dvorak keyboard, of course.
That wasn't your uncle?
It's a relative. His name Dvorak.
Yeah, okay, so was the classical composer, I guess.
Yeah, and I have a hand that goes over an octave. No, I don't. I find the problem is it's inconvenient. If you go from machine to machine to machine, and you want to use somebody else's machine, you get locked in on
Have you ever learned a Dvorak keyboard?
No, I can barely type.
I mean, does anyone use a Dvorak keyboard, seriously?
Yeah.
There are people who still use it, really?
Oh, yeah. They swear by it. Huh. Thanks again for all the work you both put into the show. Jingles, sawing noise, ISO of the ISIS beheadings. Her head is gone, and my little girl, yay, karma. Oh, by the way, P.S. he says, I love hearing the Zephyr passing updates. Huh?
There's the one guy. I don't know what saw he's talking about.
You had a sawing noise.
Oh, I have something for him. What was the other stuff he wanted? Head is gone?
The ISIS beheadings of the sawing noise with her head is gone and then little girl, yay.
Okay. Well, I have a variation. He'll be okay.
The foot bone's connected to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone, and the shin bone's connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. Yep, he's all together. Looks like that's Khashoggi.
And her head is gone.
Yay! You've got karma.
I don't think it worked.
Well, I don't know the songs. I don't have anything that's titled Saw.
Anyway, I think he didn't ask for what he should have been getting, which is a de-douching. So
that we can do.
You've been de-douched.
Was Brian also contributed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then last on this list with two associate executives is Jim Bennett in Toronto. Toronto, eh?
Yeah.
$213.31. I just received my green Space Force T-shirt in the mail.
Space Force.
Absolutely fantastic. Space Force, a genuine tactile representation of the show. My wife rolled her eyes when I put it on. But who cares? She's long gone.
Oh.
What? The kids are, on the other hand, all want their own shirts.
Dude, did he just throw his wife under the bus, or is she actually gone?
Well, maybe she left the room.
All right. Well, get the kids a Space Force T-shirt.
The kids only, yeah.
Yeah, noagendashop.com, which is nice because the way that works is the artist gets a piece of the sale. The guys at No Agenda Shop keep a third, and they give a third to the show. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, give us money once in a while. Why don't you give him just a karma for keeping his marriage together?
Yeah, it's relationship karma for sure.
You've got karma.
All right, that's it for our executive. We have 2 producers today? How many execs did we have?
3.
Okay, wow, nice. Okay, so yeah, Sir Kirk, Milton Cuevas, and Sir Sander Hoxberg and Baron of the Alps. Thank you for being our executive producers and, of course, our associate executive producers. Just like Hollywood, these are real credits. And when you get a real credit, you can usually get other gigs with it. It's strange how it works. Or you can just say, hey, I'm a producer. Hey, baby, I'm a producer. What do you want to drink?
Yeah, get a business card with it on. See if you can pick up chicks.
No. Or dudes, whatever you're into. And we'll be thanking more people, $50 and above, in our second segment. Again, thank you so much. Another show coming up on Thursday. You never know what'll happen, but we do need your support. And again, thanks to our execs and our associate executive producers for show 1085.
Dvorak.org/NA.
And I would suggest you go over to your wife and softly propagate the formula.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order. Squirrel.
Shut up, slave. Shut up, slave.
I'd like to start this part off with a little sideways clip. This is the kind of thing I think would have got a lot more attention if we didn't have Trump as president and there was a slower news day and people weren't shooting each other and the state of California wasn't on fire, as it is every year.
Yes. By the way, the last time Malibu burned down was 93. I remember. It's not that like this is new.
Chinese robot anchor.
Ah, yes.
I think I might be in trouble. China has developed a virtual anchor to deliver the news. Watch this.
Hello, everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency. My voice and appearance are modeled on Zhang Zhao, a real anchor with Xinhua. The development of the media industry calls for continuous innovation and deep integration with the international advanced technologies.
Well, that was exciting.
What do you think? What do you think? Sort of absence of personality, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No charisma. And they didn't even pronounce Xinhua correctly.
Whatever you say.
But the point is that they can work tirelessly 24 hours a day. No difficult contract negotiations to go through as well.
No vacations.
No vacations.
But how would they deal with humor or breaking?
Well, they don't, because it would have to be a single anchor. 2 of them together wouldn't be able to interact, and they're basically repeating what's being texted in. Someone's writing in the text.
Well, you had to go into Fox Business News to get a clip of this. I mean, I find this to be a stupid. That's Varney's on Fox Business, isn't he?
No, it's not true that I had to go. I had another clip of it. I just like this one better.
This is the stupidest thing I've seen. Why is this a great story?
I think this is the future. The thing is, there's a very popular robot woman in Japan. I can't remember her name, but
I thought it was Korea. I thought it was Korea.
I thought it was Japan.
Could be. Yeah,
and she's just a virtual character, and she sounds very believable, and she looks believable, and they have it. And these guys, everyone doesn't want to admit to this and saying, these news readers in particular
are very expensive readers. Yes, yeah. No, the irony of that.
Some of these guys get millions of dollars a year.
Most of them.
Yeah, most of them. And if you get some those, just have some schlubs writing the copies. They're not writing their own copy.
All right, well, let's just step back for a second. Let's just step back for 1 second. Because there's a couple things going on here. I also had a clip, except I only had the clip of this stupid thing talking. Hold on. Did I even pull the clip of it? Maybe I didn't. Oh, yeah. Here, let me just hear my clip. Maybe the same.
Hello, everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. Yeah. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency.
Okay. So this is being touted as AI, an AI newsreader. No, it's just CGI. This is, as you point out, in Japan or Korea, wherever it is, there's a very believable looking CGI representation of a female presenter on television. This is not AI. This is nothing. This is like a cartoon. It's a better version of a cartoon.
There's no such thing as AI.
No, but it's being touted as an AI newsreader. But
everything's being touted as AI.
But I think I think you're right that they want this to be the future, and the irony is that all these talking heads who just read a script, I don't think they're like, I will never lose my money. in current state, no.
We stop right there. Do you remember the era of the overpaid disc jockey during the morning commute hours that used to be like in the 60s and 70s? In the 60s and 70s, they'd make $750,000, which is the equivalent of about $7 million today, with today's money.
Yep. Some 80s and 90s were still making that kind of money. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yes. What's your point?
What happened to them?
Well, that went away when the internet came in.
I think it went away before that.
No. Up until 2000, certainly in P1 markets, I'm talking some radio talk here with you.
Hey.
Morning show guys were making $1 million. Adam Carolla, that's why he could go start a podcast, because he's making millions doing the afternoons on Kiss FM in LA. And that was not that long ago. But it certainly became a lot worse just because of more ways to get your top 40 music and more ways to be entertained. This is the problem with everything. So these prices have gone down dramatically across the board on all cable. And Al Sharpton's probably the last guy to make a lot of money. But the irony is not lost on me. That eventually, I guess. But I know people want some humanity. I don't think this will ever work. I just don't see it. And I think more importantly, people want to hear you mess up. It's something I learned very early on. I was obsessed when I was 19, just started on TV. I wanted to do it exactly right. We weren't using prompters. I memorized my lines in the first couple of years I was doing television. I would memorize what I was going to say. And I noticed that if I flubbed and if I made a joke out of it or somehow fixed it and wasn't too embarrassed, people liked that more than they worried about a flub. They didn't care. So you're going to have to build that into your AI to make it human.
It's not AI.
But people want humanity. I do not write it down in the book. I don't think this is not the future. It's not the future. A lot of things are the future.
I'm taking the robot side on this one.
You take the robot side. What is in our future is this story.
Say that an Amazon echo may help prove who killed 2 women in Farmington, New Hampshire. The victims were found murdered in a home on Meterboro Road back in 2017. Police arrested Timothy Verrill for the crimes. Investigators believe that the entire attack was recorded on the victim's Amazon echo in the kitchen. A judge has now ordered Amazon to provide any audio recordings from the speaker. Verrill has pleaded not guilty in the case.
Well, this will be very interesting to see if this thing recorded anything, because it's only supposed to record after a wake word is issued. And so there's probable cause for some reason. It looks like the judge is just not technically savvy. Maybe he got convinced easily that there's probable cause, that there's a recording of these murders. I mean, it doesn't seem probable. But if there is recording,
well, then
we have some issues.
Well, what would you do? You're Amazon and the legal team.
Yes, hello.
It depends a lot how this was presented. The request, was it a subpoena? Was it just a request, a judicial request? What was it? And what would you, as the legal team, you're the legal guy over there, what are you going to say? Because you know that Jeff Bezos, that if they are recording everything you do, they don't want that out.
The Stafford County Superior Court presiding Justice Stephen M. Huron compelled Amazon to disclose not only the audio files, but any associated data, such as what phones were paired to the smart speaker that may be connected to the January 2017 murder of Christine Sullivan and Jenna Pellegrini. So the judge ordered any and all recordings and all data from this talking tube. No.
Well, how are you going to deal with that, lawyer?
How am I? What, I'm Amazon's lawyer?
Yeah.
Well, if the judge compels me, just give it up. Why? Why not?
Because it's a worst publicity you can get. That means this thing is listening to everything you do.
Yeah, but I don't think it is.
Microphone. I don't think so either. Yeah. It has a microphone because it's too much. Why save all this stupid data? But it's got a microphone array that can pretty much pick up anything within a couple of rooms.
Yeah, it's good. It's good at that. But I just don't. If there's recordings of that would then there's definitely a problem.
What's the trigger word for it? Alexa?
Yeah, you can set Alexa or Echo.
Alexa or Echo? I can say either one of those. If I say Alexa.
No. It has. I think everyone has it programmed for Alexa. You can only do Alexa or Echo as far as or Amazon. I think you can call it Amazon. Yeah.
What happened to yours? You had one.
What happened? Well, I had the one that I built, and you got very annoyed by it.
Because it was terrible. It was slow. You're the one that got annoyed by it, not me.
Oh, okay. Sure.
No, you said it was too slow. It was taking too long to do what it had to do and all the rest of it. But what, did you just take the other stuff and just toss it?
I still use it. I use it at home. I use it for to take notes and lists. And it's
the Amazon or the new one?
The Mycroft, Mycroft, which is open source, and it's slow. That's the problem. It's slow because it doesn't have the resources of Amazon behind it. It's it's running on a Raspberry Pi, so it doesn't shoot out to the cloud and get processed by 1 million cycles per millisecond. So it takes a little bit longer for it to give an answer. But still, the 3 things you use it for: turn the lights on, turn the lights off, add something to the shopping list, and how old is somebody? And that's all we use it for.
All right. Well, sounds like something you can use it for. I have a couple of clips from the KQED, the PBS NewsHour. They have Shields and Brooks.
Is this more political stuff about America?
Well, not all of it.
Okay. Because I'm really tired of these just assholes the whole time. It's debilitating. And it always winds up with us saying these guys are idiots. Hey, 1,085 episodes. We've had a good run, John.
Well, now you're planning your tour on the boat.
I'm already on the Pacific Princess on the Lido deck.
Yeah. You'll probably run into Leo, who does a lot of those.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe this is not such a great idea then.
Anyway, so I'm watching Shields and Brooks, and it's a little political because these guys are both nuts. But
yes.
But there's some oddities in here. I got one. I want to know if you can even play this clip. This Shields and Brooks weird intro.
You may remember there was an election earlier this week. Look, yesterday, Lisa Desjardins, our political team, did a wonderful breakdown looking at the new Congress. She called it a generational change.
Okay. What was so weird about it?
Well, there's 2 weird things. One, that was an Og Vorbis clip that you played.
Yes, I know. I can eat that.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. We're open source, baby.
I found a cognitive dissonance structure that bothers me because it doesn't make sense, and I know how to resolve it. But she says last Tuesday, as you know, there was an election. But Lisa Desjardins talked about the election with a report on the newcomers. The use of the word "but."
Oh, let me listen. Let me listen again.
You may remember there was an election earlier this week. Look, yesterday, Lisa Desjardins, our political team, did a wonderful breakdown looking at the new Congress. She called it a generational change.
Could that also just be a word she inserted just to get her, because she was laughing? I think she ad-libbed, and then she went to get back to the prompter. Because she hear her go, but I think it wasn't in the script, in my mind.
Well, she could have used "and."
Yeah,
which is what she should have used.
But she's not even as good as that AI from China.
Well, that's what you want, AI. Then you have Shields and Brooks. This is another of those. These are all short. It's 19 seconds, 10 seconds. This is Brooks saying that he's most alarmed by, and it's like, why would anybody be alarmed by what he just about to say?
And Brooks, is the Democrat? Who's the Republican?
Brooks is the guy who's supposed to be a Republican, but he's a Democrat. And Shields is like the progressive Democrat who's supposed to be a Democrat.
Most alarmed by was the president.
I'm sorry, this is Shields. I'm sorry, this is Shields, not Brooks.
Okay.
And he's alarmed by everything.
Well, he's left. He's crazy a leftist.
Most alarmed by was the president's announcement that it was a great victory for Republicans. The Republicans lost more seats than they did under Ronald Reagan or George W. Bush, both of whom accepted the fact that the party had suffered a shellacking. And I was particularly struck.
He never mentions Obama, of course, who was shellacked. But he was just alarmed by this. And we have to go back and remember that Trump was, kind of raised by Norman Vincent Peale, the power of positive thinking.
Positivity. Yeah,
why is this a bad thing? I'm not quite getting that fact that they hate him for being positive. All right. Here's another one. This is the irony statement, and I want you to listen to this and tell me exactly where is the irony that is claimed.
And I think the victory, David and I disagree on this. I think it was an enormous personal victory and political victory for Nancy Pelosi. I really do. I mean, she was the one who passed health care in 2009 almost single-handedly, and the party paid for it in 2010. And ironically, in 2018, it was the issue.
Yeah, I don't know where the irony comes from.
Where's the irony?
It's not irony. There's no irony. He just
throws in the word ironically.
No,
I find it annoying, by the way, that people do these sorts of things.
Well, irony is very misunderstood as a term. I think I used it correctly earlier when I said the irony of celebrating Armistice Day and talking about war and weapons.
Irony.
That's irony.
A very good example.
That's irony. And I thought, but I had to think about it because irony is just thrown around. It's so ironic, isn't it? Which is used for surprising, disappointing. It's used for many things, but irony.
Yes, it seems to be just kind of a word you use for no good reason. And then the last one, I'm not going to play that. There's more, but I'm going to play this was this is a little longer. But this is Brooks. This time it is Brooks, who, if you remember during the run up to the 2016 election, he would be the guy, and I had tons of these clips. He'd say, oh, well, Trump's got a 25% base and no one's ever – when he gets into the general election or the next level, he can't get more than 25%. Oh,
no path.
And then he can't get more than 35%. This is the limit. He can't get 30 – well, I'm not worried about him winning the presidency because he can't get more than 40%. He's always got these percent things in his brain that he's got a new one.
Oh, okay. Let's try it.
So both of you have noted that demographically there were huge shifts with this new Congress.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were largely in one party and not the other. Right. That's a fair assessment. David, what do you make of that looking forward at our biggest and strongest two parties? One path is clearly moving towards more representation of the general public, and one not so much.
Yeah, well, a couple things. First, Donald Trump seems to have walled himself in with 45% of the electorate. And so he's built some pretty strong barriers. It's hard to see people leaving and coming in. Second, it should be said that for all there was a blue wave or a huge surge in turnout for the Democrats, there was also a huge surge in turnout for the Republicans. And to me, that is basically the white working class saying we're still hurting. Some of it may have to do with Kavanaugh hearings and things like that, but life in rural areas is still marked by huge numbers of men outside the labor force. You've got jobs that are part-time in the gig economy. You've still got a lot of economic strain, and those people just came out because they're still hurting. Now, can this party get outside that 45%? I don't think so.
Another proclamation. Okay.
So the 45%, he's just pulling that. What's the point here? He's just pulling that out of thin air.
That means it's limited. This is a basic theory for the last 2 years.
Oh, he can't win because he only has 45%.
Yeah, in this case.
Well, okay. All right. Now, please allow me to present you some unhinged clips about politics in America. Because, you're playing intellectuals who are saying nothing, which is humorous to us. But no one that I know watches Brooks and Shields anymore, except you. I think these guys have become completely irrelevant.
As charged.
I think these guys are they've talked themselves out of relevance. And the people that are being believed as the true bastions of honesty and truth are late night talk show guys. Really, I would say Bill Maher. But how about Seth Meyers? Let's have a look at Seth Meyers as he takes a closer look at the Democrats taking control of the House.
Democrats' closing message was primarily about health care. Trump, on the other hand, tried to scare people with racist conspiracy theories about the migrant caravan.
What was the conspiracy theory about the migrant caravan? Did he have a conspiracy theory? Or did he say it's an invasion?
Coming up our way.
It's not quite a conspiracy theory, being a theorist myself, but okay, I'll let you slide.
Headed toward the southern border. Trump's advisors pleaded with him to talk about something else, like the economy, and Trump tried, but admitted he found the subject boring.
And what job numbers we had today. Did you hear? Did you hear? Well, we'll go into that. They all say, speak about the economy. Speak about the economy. Well, we have the greatest economy in the history of our country. But sometimes it's not as exciting to talk about the economy, right?
That's talking about the economy.
He didn't say it was boring either. Seth Meyers just said he thought it was boring. So he plays this whipsaw clip. Anyway.
Did you hear? Well, if not, too bad, because I'm not going to tell you.
I'm sorry, I'm missing that humor.
That's the president saying the economy is boring. Dude, the economy is your number one job.
Oh, no. No, the economy is not your number one job at all.
Fact check false.
Uphold and defend the Constitution. Shut up, Seth Meyers. All right, let's go to MSNBC. That's where we found Michael Moore with, what's our buddy? Not Matthews. Is it Matthews? Who's on MSNBC? Chris Matthews?
Everybody.
Who's the Stop the Hammering guy?
Oh, O'Donnell.
Larry O'Donnell.
Larry.
All right, let's listen to Michael Moore.
Absolutely. You're so right to say that. And you're right. Imagine if we hadn't won on Tuesday night. First of all, I think there were so many people anticipating that possibility after what happened in 2016. I heard that pharmaceutical companies were actually developing an antidepressant just for Democrats, a Democratic antidepressant.
That actually brings up a point. Where was all the revolting and the demonstrating and the rioting? And I think everything went pretty peacefully, didn't it? The midterm elections, there's no fracas, there was nothing going on.
No, there's that thing you went to.
Yeah, but that was after the election. There's no rioting anywhere. It was all calm. Okay, so it seems good. But yet the Democrats and everyone on the left had to have antidepressants and to take drugs. We're all freaking out.
But fortunately, they don't need that now. They can go back to the lattes and cappuccinos.
Oh yeah, exactly. Go back to your lattes and cappuccinos. He's actually saying it right for once.
For their medicinal purposes. But seriously though, I think that this
I'll be here all week.
This is so critical. What's going on in the Justice Department, because what you have now, we already had a constitutional crisis with Trump's behavior prior to the election. We now have
he doesn't know what it is, but he's just going to, there's only one way he can go. We've already had constitutional crisis. We're all going to die. So what do you do when you're already at peak constitutional crisis?
With Trump's behavior prior to the election. We now have a constitutional crisis within the constitutional crisis.
Oh, yeah.
We now have a state of...
We have a constitutional crisis within the constitutional crisis. It could not be any worse.
Constitutional crisis within the constitutional crisis. We now have a state of emergency within the state of emergency.
Oh, my God. Grab my AR-15.
Does he ever explain what he's talking about?
I think he'll try. He has 30 seconds. He'll give it a shot.
Very dangerous. We live in a country now where an American can go into a bar and kill 12 people, can go into a synagogue and kill 11 people, can go into a Kroger looking for black people and kill black people. We are in a very, very dangerous situation. All of us have to be up and active. We have to be on guard. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if you're recovering tonight and watching this, seriously, I would do anything for you. I would literally donate a rib for you. Although my ribs might not be, it might take up your whole body, but I'm just saying.
He's really on a roll. I mean, the jokes are just one after another.
That we've got a lot of things in front of us here, a lot on our plate, Lawrence, but the people are going to be heard, and they're not going away just because they won on Tuesday night.
All right, so what he said was nothing, absolutely nothing, but yet they keep him on.
Stop. Yes. At the end, well, you can keep going, but at the end he says,
we got to keep going. It's for 2020.
They're going to be heard even though we won? That's what he says. The people are going to be heard even though we won? Is that... I mean, you'd say that would be this is cognitive.
Let's listen to the end
because
again.
What does it mean? You won, but you're still
let's
you
listen
won,
again.
But you get the trophy.
Let's dissect it.
We've got a lot of things in front of us here, a lot on our plate, Lawrence, but the people are going to be heard, and they're not going away just because they won on Tuesday night.
They're not going away just because they won. Yeah, I understand your confusion. But it gets better in this civics lesson.
If there was a way to do the map where we actually built the map and showed by population how large this area of the country is, or this area of the country, by population, you would see the bluest of blue. You'd need sunglasses. There'd be so much blue on the screen on the map.
No, you need the blue blocker glasses.
If we actually showed the map by the size of its population, not the size of how many acres the state has.
See, he believes that the Senate
no, they all do.
Somehow is determined by the acres they have.
So this was an election. This is, and people are, they still got the Senate. Yes, they have the Senate, but that's because that's not a democratic election. That's not a one person, one vote.
No, because we're also not a democracy, you douche. We're a constitutional republic.
Not true democracy.
No.
Doesn't mean that Delaware gets the same number of votes in the Senate as California with 40 million people who live there. If it was a true democracy, the Senate would be proportional to the actual numbers of the country. So
that's what the House is for.
No, but he just skips over that. He feels the Senate should be the same as the House, you see.
Like, just take the Senate and throw them away. That's what the way to solve this is, just dissolve the Senate.
To fix that, we have to get rid of the Electoral College. We need to have preferential voting systems where you vote your first choice and your second choice. We'll get a more...
I've never heard of this. The preferential voting system where you get to do, well, if this guy is not this guy, I want it to be this lady.
California's implemented that years ago.
You have to do a 1, 2, and 3. Is that a good system?
Well, it ends up with, for example, Dianne Feinstein, a Democrat, running against the Democrat.
Right. Well, we'll be hearing more from Mr. Michael Moore. But the series of clips I really want to get to.
We don't want you don't want a democracy, pure democracy, because it always results in a majority
rules,
abuse.
mob rules.
Yeah, it's very bad. That's why the Republic works so well.
But if you're going to keep
tucking away at it, say the Senate, Delaware.
I find that actually that's kind of treasonous in a way. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but to keep saying that it's, we're not a democracy. Well, no, we're not. But to make it sound like it's such a stupid idea, it's worked pretty well.
And then all this is the same group of people, like the woman who's now the congresswoman from Michigan, or congressional representative, which is the way they like to say it.
Yes.
From Michigan, standing up and say, "Have you ever read the Constitution?" and getting thrown out of a meeting.
No, she was taken out.
Same group.
She was taken out.
If you read the Constitution, you understand why they're doing it this way. Or if you read the Constitution, there's a reason. There's two and two.
Yeah. Have you read the Constitution, Michael Moore? That would be the question. I very much enjoyed, and as I have been doing for the past few weeks, the Bill Maher show this weekend, Friday. Did you see it?
No, I don't even bother anymore because you're on that.
Very good, very good. So this was a rare occasion when you have two comedians, Bill Maher, and then the special guest at the panel didn't get the same treatment as Barbara Streisand with her own little set and everything. No, just sit at the table next to Bill. Sarah Silverman. So here you have two comedians, and when two comedians, when it doesn't work, and they're both trying to be funny, and what happens is they are bombing consistently. Because they're not on the same wavelength. I think that he was on her show because he mentioned, I don't think in these clips, but he mentioned it somewhere. And I had such a great time. But I think that somehow they shot their wad together, and you know what I mean, right? Then it just doesn't work. It's like they're trying to be funny, and neither of them is funny, and it's cringeworthy, which means it's perfect for the No Agenda show.
Congratulations, you got your your star on the Walk of Fame today. There it is. Oh, my God. Welcome to the club.
I'll be honest.
I have one.
You do?
Oh, it's right next to Gary Busey.
Oh, you're kidding.
Not the star, actually Gary Busey.
Gary Busey.
See, I think what happened here is she said, I got a joke about my Hollywood star. Start off with that. I don't think she was ready for him to crack the Gary Busey joke, which I'm sure he does all the time when he talks about his star. So that, I think, is where it went wrong.
In a time, Bill, where anti-Semitic crime is up 57% since this douchebag has taken office.
That Trump must be fucking Hitler.
It is not lost on me that I am very lucky that I get a star and I don't have to sew it on my clothes.
And the crowd turns. No.
I did. I don't know if that's gallows humor or just like it's funny because it's true humor.
Well, I think they love Sarah Silverman humor.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, there's two Jews who are disagreeing over the joke. He did not like that joke. He did not think it was funny. And, it just kind of went downhill from there.
One good thing, though, I must say about Trump is, I never thought I'd even say those words. But he has sort of broken down certain norms that we lived with for a long time that didn't really make sense, like extramarital affairs. I mean, I was arguing with that in the Clinton days. It doesn't really matter. That's private. It doesn't affect. I remember they used to say, if he cheats on his wife, is he going to cheat on the country? No, it doesn't make any sense. You can cheat on your wife all day long and still be a good president. We've had many who did.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't care, and it was good because it's private. Yet he had Stormy Daniels on 2 weeks ago for an entire interview at the beginning and said she had done a great service to the country. So that's a little stupid. But this next clip worked very well for me. This again solidifies that there is an anger brewing predominantly, I think pretty much only among the left. And maybe it's only people who are a member of a leftist party. And there is so much anger and so many things have been brewing up that people start to cuss a lot everywhere on television. And I think maybe it was the last show or the show before. When you say certain words, when you swear, it's not just a word that comes out. It's a release of energy, of frustration, can be a number of things. But, it's a physical thing. It actually, you've got serotonin shooting around, melatonin, God knows what's flying in your head when you do that. Your pupils dilate, your pores open up. But now listen to this.
Another one, language. Beto said, I love the fuck out of you guys at his rally. Years ago, that would have been a big deal because he said fuck. Now nobody gives a fuck.
It's true. And I like when people use fuck in a positive way. That's how I always grew up with my dad says fuck every other word, but he's a joyful guy. I'm such a fucking lucky guy, it's joyful, and I think that's nice. I don't like when Trump says stuff like stupid and loser and stuff like that. To me, that's, I'm not the word police, he can say it, but it just says so much about himself, and we all know he's really kind of at this arrested development at about 8 years old. Genuinely.
Yeah.
This isn't and I would have great compassion for him if he wasn't hurting people's lives. But those are words that children say before they learn that they're not nice words, You're a loser, you're stupid. It's such a bad karma.
What about shit?
You're setting me up, but I do have a theory about this.
I brought up fuck, so you would say shit.
Oh, you did? I don't know. Everything goes out the window once I'm sitting here, but I think this sounds silly, but we all, of course, on this show, on where I'm on too, we can say shit, fuck, cunt, twat, but...
I mean, what is wrong with these people? We're now a minute and a half into this.
But only those. It makes it really hard. You have to figure out. But the rest of the country on television, we just, and everything, we accept that the word shit is obscene, that it's a swear. And it just means poop. It just means crap. There's no reason it should be considered obscene or a swear at all. But we don't question things that are just the way they are. And I think that it's an example of how it's so fucking hard to have any progress because we don't question anything. Nobody says, why is shit bleeped on TV? It just means poop.
You see, they're totally missing the entire point of this because it's an interesting topic. I think it's interesting how language is changing and how swear words are being used more and more, but all they can do is say, well, it means like poop. Seriously. It's cringe-worthy. Last one.
But that was a pretty amazing thing, to get thrown out of the press room and also to have a...
Okay, it wasn't thrown out of the press room. He was talking about Jim Acosta.
He was thrown out of the press
He was
room.
denied re-entry as his hard pass, whatever that means. His hard pass was confiscated. So he wasn't thrown out.
But that was a pretty amazing thing, to get thrown out of the press room, and also to have a press secretary, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, present a...
You said succubus.
I did?
Yeah.
I meant succubus.
What's succubus?
Oh, it's a Greek god or something. It's
dumb. Another dumb joke.
I didn't mean that. See, we're both losing it. But
see, he knows that it sucks.
To submit a doctored tape, like...
Now, wait a minute. Is he really claiming that the video that went around, that was edited, doctored, and that there was no physical contact? Is that what he's really saying?
That's a meme. It's going
One
around.
degree
From InfoWars.
Exactly.
And it came from InfoWars?
They get their news from InfoWars.
That's
par
the
for
meme. That's the meme, yes.
the course of an authoritarian government. You know, I mean, it's not even dog whistles anymore. It's full on, who's a racist boy? Yes, you are.
Right.
It's not subtle. He's doing it right in front of our fucking faces.
But there have to be bad words. I mean, you've got a president who's shit, and we've become accustomed to that. So what words are there for that?
Nice one.
So that's it. That's what's happening to the people who used to be funny.
Yeah, that is a problem.
No, it's a huge...
They're obsessed, and they're weird.
They're very obsessed. Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, yes. I did want to mention this before we take another break. Someone gave me... it was a blog. Was it a blog post? Let me see. I don't know if it was a blog. Anyway, it was an alternative theory on the plastic bans that we are seeing. Straws, utensils, cups. What else do we have that's banned plastic-wise?
Mostly bags and straws.
Yeah.
And cups.
This is from the organicprepper.com, if that'll tell you anything. And it goes through a whole list of countries who have and states who have banned plastic bags, and there's a lot. It's in the show
and
notes.
also the plastic water bottle.
Plastic water bottle, yes. So we know about the dangers of plastic, but the question is, and this is what they're trying to answer, is why is there such a push to ban plastic? Now, I would say it's like an Agenda 21 thing because we're getting plastic. I mean, what we're being told is plastic is seeping into us. We're pooping plastic. Plastic's everywhere. Plastic is bad. I mean, we've had plastic in our lives since The Graduate. So, the plastic stuff around, I don't think we're dying from plastic. I don't really believe that all the turtles are in jeopardy of a straw up their nose. So these guys have a theory. They have a theory. What is the number one use of plastic that people have on their person almost at all times? And some people have a lot of it.
When they're naked?
No, when you're in the world, not when you're home, not when you're naked. When you're out and about doing your business like most people do, what is the number? Even people who have no job have this plastic.
Rayon?
Credit cards.
Oh.
And the thinking is, if we can get people fed up enough with plastic, and then we could get them to get rid of their credit cards, we bring in the chip.
That's a stretch for me.
I like it.
Yeah, I think the plastic water bottles are a little more concerning than
BPA is different, but this is more about...
Well, now, not from the BPA point of view. It's just from the amount of leftover plastic you have because people don't reuse these bottles.
Yeah, but that is not the meme. The meme is we're killing animals, we're pooping plastic. It's not water bottles. It's turtles, fish, the big plastic floating island.
Yeah, which is water bottles again.
I know, but I'm just saying I like this as a theory.
Yeah. Well, I understand why it was a good theory.
You know why I like it. Well, it's not like companies aren't doing this. People are doing this. This is a Swedish company that did it.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple American companies that have done it, and people think it's fantastic.
And I did a quick Bing search, and they tried this in 2014 and 2009, How your credit cards affect the environment. I'm just reading some headlines here. Plastic cards, not so fantastic for the environment. Making credit cards landfill friendly. Why cards? Retailers see green alternative to gift cards. Is it green card? There's a lot. They've tried this for several years. I see 2009, 2011, 2014. Let's see if it comes back.
All right. I don't think it will. Well, I mean, I don't think it will get any different than what we've been witnessing so far. It's kind of a minor, and subtle, approach.
Could be.
That's not going to help.
I liked it though as an idea.
Besides that, I think that because of this clip, you don't have to worry about plastic in the ocean. Ocean's heating up. It should melt the plastic.
In environmental news, the world's oceans are warming at a much faster rate than previously thought. That's according to a new report in the journal Nature, which finds that oceans have absorbed 60% more heat during the past 25 years than previous scientific estimates. Scientists say this will result in accelerated global warming as the heat is released into the atmosphere, making the target of holding global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit even more difficult to achieve unless urgent global action is taken.
It's been interesting reading the Dutch news. Once this IPCC report came out where everyone said, we have to stop it at 1.5 degrees. The Netherlands, certainly the political class and the elites went all in. Yep, we've got to do this. We're shutting everything down. You know, they already have pretty much banned gas for usage in homes, for heating or for cooking. No new homes will be built with a gas connection. That's off the table. That's just done in the whole country.
Why?
Because it's bad for the environment. I'm telling you, they're idiots over there. It's the socialist kingdom of the Netherlands. And then, of course, people, we have to do something. We got to hurry up. We only have until 2030 to get this all done. So let's use nuclear. No. Nuclear, it doesn't work. There's a huge, I'm telling you, all the experts are saying it costs too much. It takes too long for it to eventually make any sense financially. So,
what?
No, we still, yes.
70% of France is
run by. I know. And people are just, and of course, then we get documentaries. Oh, let's look at Chernobyl again. Is that what you want, people? Do you want that kind of renewable energy? Do you want to die? Do you want to be fried? No, let's have some wind and sun. They're going to have to start buying energy from Germany. You watch.
Maybe this whole thing is a scheme to buy energy from Germany.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh, yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, I have more than a few people to thank for show 1085.
Yep.
Jonathan Dennison. Or actually, let's go back to Arjen de Jongste in Dortmund.
Arjen de Jongste.
Buy an SSD, she said.
He probably.
Yeah, you're right. Jonathan Dennison, $111. Oh, that was 100. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jonathan Dennison, 111.11. Black Baron Scott, Baron of North Georgia, 111.11.
I think it was Scott who asked me to play at the end of the show. Was the bagpipes, the Flowers of the Forest?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
Okay.
I'll play that.
Dr. Jeff, 111.11. These are all Armistice Day celebration donations. Circus Media, 111.11. I'm just going to say name and location. Jay Kincaid. Sir Kevin McLaughlin, Viscount of Luna, and that's the end of them. All 111.11. Not a big turnout.
No.
Kind of mediocre.
And I didn't see any shout outs to the U.S. Marine Corps, which I know we have a lot. We have a lot of service personnel in our producer stable, and many Marine Corps, which they celebrated 247 years yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
The day of the newsletter.
Yes.
I put it in there. We have $100, which is the other opportunity because it was 100th anniversary of Armistice Day. We got 3 people. Sir Don of Taintsville in Oviedo, Florida. Dude named Peter in New York City, and Jackson Butler in Levelland, Texas. So that was another dud. So I guess nobody cares. Muhammad Ali Bawani, 8008, but they do care about boobs.
Boobs, always a winner. Thanks, dude named Muhammad Ali.
Dave the Deerslayer, also boobs. This has been a douchebag for too long. We should de-douche him.
Yes, we do. No,
You've been de-douched.
We give some karma at the end. Von Glitchka, Knight of the Vector Realm, 70. Morten Kiernan in Soberg, Denmark, 69. Baron Mark Tanner, 6789 in Whittier. Robert Bruckner, 50. We're at the $50 level already. And these are just name and locations, $50 donors. Robert Bruckner, Brett Yo in Cantonsville, Maryland. Kimberly Redmond in Toronto, Canada. Jonathan Ferris in Liberal, Kansas. Richard Gardner, parts unknown, although he's Sir Richard, I'm pretty sure.
Quite sure.
Drew Mochak in El Cerrito, right up the street from me. Roy Ten Hava in Pinakker, Netherlands.
Did you get Robert Decanay from Fairfax? You might have skipped him.
Robert Decanay in Fairfax, Virginia. Yep. I'm pretty sure I did. Sir Alan Bowes in Oakland. And last but not least, Kyle Meyer in Atlanta, Georgia. That's it. So well-wishers for Armistice Day. Now, the other thing we have to consider is it's a holiday. A lot of people take the day off.
They take Monday off, right?
Yeah, but they're off for the 3-day weekend. They're up there. I don't know where you're going to go in California. It's not on fire.
It's just burn up.
I think Clear Lake is still okay, and Barry S is still working. So
you're safe, though, right? You're okay there?
I hope so.
Well, what does that mean? How far is fire from you?
100 miles or 200 miles from here.
Oh, that's not that far.
Well, I don't think it's going to go 200 miles.
Well, I hear it does like 20,000 acres in 2 minutes.
Yeah, but it's a big state.
Yeah, that's true.
The problem is the air pollution. I mean, you have the wind, even though it's not the worst of it. The wind has smoked up the area where you have you can't see the sun. The air pollution is really bad, and I had to put up the really bad. I mean, you can't see San Francisco from here, which I normally can. You can barely see halfway. You can't even see Alcatraz, and it's all smoke from the fires, which is blowing down this way because it's got a reverse wind. The normal wind comes off the ocean, and so I had to get the HEPA filter out and my old electrostatic precipitator.
Wow,
which is a nice piece of gear to keep the house air fresh. I should do that anyway.
Yeah, you should. You should definitely do that. I saw Elon Musk tweeted, Tesla S90 and Model X have hospital-grade HEPA filters. We're happy to help. I'm going to take a battery car into a fire. That sounds like a good idea. Yes. Well, thank you to our producers who supported this show, episode 1085. It is, of course, appreciated. It is how the system works. No advertisements. We've talked about a lot of things on this show today, topics that cannot be discussed in what would be deemed a brand-safe environment. It doesn't exist on this show. It's a dangerous show to produce, and so no one would ever even want to advertise, and we wouldn't be able to do it if we took advertising anyway. So we just don't do it. We've been doing it for 11 years. It works thanks to the help from our producers. You heard our execs and associate execs earlier. These are producers who also come in under $50, many of them because they want to remain anonymous, but also we have subscriptions. I implore you to go to Dvorak.org/NA and please support us for our next show, which will be on Thursday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Cancer requests, or F-cancers.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Well, stand back because today is November 11th, 2018. The birthday list includes one birthday. Peter Nikolaj says, happy birthday to his smoking hot wife, Monica. We couldn't agree more. Happy birthday from everybody here at the best podcast in the universe. No nights, no titles, no nothing. I did want to mention, because the guy's been in the news, there's a guy I know quite well in the Netherlands. And he kind of, although he's been around longer than when I first met him, when Anthony Robbins really cropped up, I would say, was that 90s? Would that be fair to say that was peak Anthony
Robbins, the inspirational guy?
Yeah, peak Anthony Robbins was 90s, I think. He had the firewalk and everything, and I had the tapes.
Probably the early 90s, yeah.
So this guy, Emil Ratelband is his name. I first became aware of him in the Netherlands as the Dutch Tony Robbins. And he had the same thing, firewalk, and he had pictures of him and Tony Robbins, and he's a very animated guy, kind of a bit like, he's like Tony Robbins, but also a little bit like Trump, to be quite honest, the way he sometimes talks, and just a funny guy. And every so often, he's like a media bomber. He'll pop into the media with some outrageous thing that the whole country's talking about. And certainly in the Calvinistic lowlands, people eventually say, nah, that's just Emil. He's a nut job. But I always liked him because I thought he made very interesting points. When I was flying helicopters, he was like, yeah, we should be able to land right in the middle of Amsterdam. He a media bomber. And the media just loves to go towards him. And it went from showing the guy as somebody who had something interesting to say or a different slant to he's a nut job. And of course, that's why I was attracted to him. And he's been to my house for dinner. I've been to his house. And I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But he showed up on the international stage this week. Everybody was talking about him. Washington Post wrote about him. BBC did articles on him. Everyone's talking about my guy, Emil. And I think this time he really bombed the media good.
Transgenderism is increasingly a part of American life. Now a man wants to be trans-aged. I'm talking about Emil Ratelband. He's asking a Dutch court to legally change his age from 69 to 49.
I feel I suffer under my age. When I am really 49 again, I will have a baby again. I will buy a new car again. If I have that age again, I have hope again. I'm new again. And the whole future is there for me again.
Yeah, I like this.
I heard about this too. I didn't think of clipping it, but yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought it'd be interesting to see how this is like self-identification.
Well, yes.
If I'm going to self-identify as a
49-year-old, yes, or
I might as well just self-identify as a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
How old are you? I'm 30. What? You don't look 30. Yep. Hey. But 30.
But ageism is real. It's very real. And if I were able to change my age, I'm in a weird spot because I'm kind of in the middle. But you take someone like Emil, who's 69. If you can say you're 49 again, you will get jobs that you wouldn't get. And he doesn't look 69, to be honest. He looks 50, but 49. A loan, insurance. I mean, there's lots of things that health insurance. If you have a different age, if you can legally change your age, and why wouldn't you be? I identify with a 30-year-old. I identify as a woman. I have a penis, but I identify as a woman. Okay, we'll put it on your driver's license. If you can change it, if you can change these biological things, why can't you change biological age?
Yeah.
I like it. I think, and of course, he's being laughed at. Yeah, me too. What would you identify as?
29.
Okay.
You look beat for 29.
Dude,
what are you going to do? I've traveled a lot. I've done a lot for a guy who's 29.
We'd like to pre-board all passengers who are young but are having trouble walking and look a little older than they are.
You could pre-board.
I'm in.
I do have a no-agenda tip, actually. A no-agenda
pre-boarding tip?
No, no-agenda travel tip.
Okay.
Yes, there is a new rule, and this starts December 12th, that American Airlines, not the one airline, but all airliners, will allow passengers with nut allergies to pre-board so they can wipe everything down. I'm thinking, hell yeah, I got a nut allergy. I'll show up with a medical mask, with gloves. We have to pre-board. I have a horrible nut allergy.
Just say you have the allergy. You don't have to wear the mask necessarily.
No, but I want to be in front of all the other pre-boarders. I want to be the guy really in front before children, small children.
Because of the smoke down here. If you go to these, the kind of the hippy dippy places to go shopping, there's a bunch of people in there with these masks. So when I saw it the first time, I mean, it's not as bad. I don't know. Maybe it's bad for some people who have asthma, but when you see it. And these masks don't do half the job. They can't really do much because smoke particles are too minuscule. But you see, the first time I saw it, I thought there was some sort of an outbreak of Ebola or something in Berkeley.
Yes. Yeah. Did you see?
I like it.
Did you see the new Planned Parenthood ad?
No.
But Tina and I were talking about this yesterday, and you really have to see it. If you maybe you should just Bing it, and because it's not about the audio. You can keep the audio off, but it's a 30-second. Well, I think it's actually a little longer, but 35 seconds for some reason, and it shows a close up of the most beautiful infant.
I saw this ad.
Yeah,
yes, I did see it.
So I'm looking at it now. You see this beautiful kid. She deserves to be loved. And then then you show it again. You're looking right into her eyes and the cutest smile ever. And, you're in love with this kid. And then the next title card comes up. She deserves to be wanted. And then it goes black and the kid comes up again. And it's just the eyes are, I'm in love with this kid. And then a title card comes up. She deserves to be a choice.
Yeah.
And then there's the hashtag Stand With PP for Stand With Planned Parenthood. And, Tina and I were talking, and this is the Action Fund, by the way. This is not the outfit. This is the 501c4. It's the lobbying organization. And Tina and I were looking at this and saying, I think depending on where you are in your mind, or I don't know if it's necessary, if it comes down to pro-choice or pro-life, I think that's a little too strict. I think there's middle ground in this, but you look at it, and I looked at this ad and went, oh my God, these people are killing babies like that. That was just my initial instinct. And I'm not a pro-lifer necessarily. I think choice is important, but that was my initial response.
The ad for I never thought that, by the way, seeing the ad, but apparently some people, I never put you in that group, saw the ad differently.
Yes.
Well, then they blew the ad.
Well, no. Well, I was going to get to this. The point I was going to get to was, who is this ad for? That's kind of how I dissected it. Because the baby is a white baby. I believe the number one client of Planned Parenthood is black or brown. I may be wrong, but I think those are the statistics.
Don't know. I mean, it may be a myth.
Well, they made a choice. They chose a very, very white, blue-eyed baby and saying this baby should be a choice. I mean, I don't know. I think they're pandering towards. I don't know. It confused the hell out of me because yes.
Okay. Let's also mention that right now the Democrats, as they did before Trump's election, if you remember when we did the show, like I'd say 3 years ago, we talked about this because we were kind of taken by it. The move was to get all women to hate Republicans.
Yeah.
And we had a number of thematic shows that showed evidence of this, which was the hate on the Republicans, so that all women, with the female perspective, all women should vote Democrat because the Republicans are evil women haters. And this was the thing. Maybe they're cranking that idea up again. They could trying to get the white woman to vote Democrat.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it was very confusing. I think if
you're not a white woman.
That's me. I identify as a 49-year-old white woman. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm going for. No, I thought. Now, this is airing on TV, though, isn't it? It didn't get banned, did it?
Not that I know of.
No, I just thought this is
bad. It didn't work.
They're saying, but there's the way the ad reads to me is: you have a choice. This baby, you can have this baby, when you're ready for this baby, and you don't need to have this baby when it's not convenient for your life or whenever you're ready to love a child of your own. That, I think, is the intent of the ad. But I don't know. Does it really work?
I don't know. It worked for me, but now that you bring it up, probably doesn't work.
No.
I'm going to go along with the, if everybody doesn't. Yeah, this is the problem with doing this symbolic kind of like fill in the blank type of ad.
Yeah.
It's just, they're always like this. It's like, well, you fill in the blank, you filled it in wrong.
Yeah. Whereas Ice Cube, he makes it very, very clear.
It's the warlord, bring the voodoo. When I bail through, it's crazy like Bellevue. What they tell you, leave that boy alone, like Home Alone. Yeah. Fuck a skull and bone, arrest the president.
Arrest the president.
Arrest the president. Is Russian intelligence.
Arrest the president.
You so basic with your vape stick. Let's go ape shit in the Matrix.
Arrest the president. Arrest the president. Arrest the president.
You got the evidence. Arrest the president. Arrest the president. Arrest the president. You got the evidence.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear what he's trying to tell us.
I think that's a little more,
that's
targeted.
See, I can get this. This I understand, Ice. And I got it. This one I understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
People have so little respect for the country.
Yes.
It's pretty funny. Now, we were talking about, I think we had ongoing discussions of the Southern strategy and how the party switched.
The big switch. Yes. I think I have a jingle for that.
You do have a jingle.
I think so. I didn't realize you were going to bring it up.
Well, we got to do something here at the end.
Yeah. Anyway, tell me what you're thinking about, and I'll look for the jingle.
I got the Pat Buchanan clip, which I promised, where he discusses, because he was in the Nixon White House, and he discusses the so-called Southern strategy and what it was not doing, what it was doing, and who was the racist and who weren't, and the fact that a lot of this stuff has been exaggerated, largely by Democrat inclined history professors and people that want to push their agenda on this poor hapless student who doesn't get a real clear picture of things. And I thought it's not real long, but it's long enough that I thought it's something you'd particularly like because it adds to the narrative of this discussion.
Mr. Buchanan, I was wondering if you can give us your thoughts regarding whether President Nixon had a so-called Southern strategy.
Clearly, Nixon went into all 11 Southern states in 1966. He went in and campaigned against George Wallace and against Lester Maddox. And I've described that in my book. If you read the book, the libel against Richard Nixon is that he used racist tactics to win the South. That is false. The people that did that were the Democrats. Woodrow Wilson resegregated the federal government, carried all 11 southern states. FDR put Cactus Jack Garner of Texas on his ticket, who had imposed a poll tax. FDR put a Klansman on the Supreme Court. FDR put Jimmy Burns of South Carolina on the Supreme Court, who had blocked the anti-lynching law. So for decades, the Democratic Party used the issue of race to maintain the solidity of the Northern Liberal Southern coalition. What happened was Adlai Stevenson. The states Wallace carried are the same states Adlai Stevenson carried against Eisenhower. Was that because Stevenson was a tougher guy in foreign policy than Dwight David Eisenhower? No. Stevenson put on his ticket John Sparkman of Alabama, who was a signer of the Dixie Manifesto, which called for massive resistance to integration and massive resistance to the Supreme Court decision. That's when I was a senior in high school. So the Democrats were, as we wrote in that piece, look at the column I wrote with Nixon and for Nixon, where I said Nixon went south, and he said, look, let's leave it to the Dixiecrats to squeeze the last ounces of political juice out of the rotting fruit of racial injustice. And Nixon had voted for the Civil Rights Act of 1957, of 1960, of 1964, 65, 68, and he desegregated the South. And once the South was desegregated, once that was off the table, naturally the South moved from its conservative convictions, moved straight into the Republican Party, but only after it was desegregated. So I think, that's a libel, and I'm happy to take that one on, and I've taken it on in that book. There were liberals whining and complaining. None of them whined and complained when FDR was winning all Confederate states every single time he ran, all 4 times.
Yeah, it's a good clip. The problem is anyone who is interested is just their eyes will glaze over. Like, it's so much easier just to say, hey, they all swapped. And the racists are now Republicans. You don't need to say any more than that.
Every time I hear one of these, we've been playing these long clips about this for forever. And people do, some glaze over. I don't think everybody does. Listening to this show.
No, I don't. I don't. Of course not. Our producers don't.
But the thing that got me, I didn't realize, because I was a Democrat at the time, and my dad was a big Adlai Stevenson supporter, because he was a union guy and he was a Democrat, which is all, the Archie Bunker type, which were all Democrats. And he was a big fan of Adlai Stevenson, even though he's running against Eisenhower, who's, how can you not like that guy? He's like a war general, the whole thing. And he kept saying that the reason Stevenson couldn't beat Eisenhower was because of he was perceived as an egghead, which was the first time I ever heard the term. My dad said it to me. And the egghead, which is he looks like. He's got one of those egg-shaped heads. Not as bad as some people, but he's, and then he's bald and he's got an egghead. He's an egghead. He was very intellectual. He was he was very soft-spoken. You should listen to some of his old speeches. They're on YouTube. But I didn't even think about the fact that he had a racist vice president pick.
Right.
And if you think about it, that's the same thing Kennedy did when he put Johnson on the ticket.
Yep. Had to. There's a little extra piece to this Southern strategy story, and I found it on Netflix. It's Tricky Dick and the Man in Black, which is quite a story of Richard Nixon and Johnny Cash, who performed at the White House, and which was a big deal. And in fact, and I encourage you to watch this. Besides it being Johnny Cash, which is just fantastic, a great story. Apparently, Nixon put in a press release. He said part of his strategy was, let me get the South. I need Johnny Cash. I need Johnny Cash to perform at the White House. And so that was part of the strategy, which is never mentioned. And I didn't know about it either, really. And then he put in the press release, Nixon did, that the president has requested Johnny Cash sing Okie from Muskogee and Welfare Cadillac, which, talk about some dog whistles, especially Welfare Cadillac. And probably no one knows the song, but it's about someone who's on welfare, which I think was severely frowned upon. And it's kind of a joke song. Say, one day I'm going to drive down, pick up my welfare check and my Cadillac, which is kind of a sneer at people who are on welfare. Johnny Cash did not perform either of those songs. Instead, he sang What is Truth, which is kind of a haunting song, pretty much telling the president, you've got to help the youth of America understand what is truth. You've got to get the truth to people. And this was 2 weeks before Kent State, before the whole country went apeshit. And I was watching some of that footage. It seemed like it was a little worse back then, John. We're seeing crazy stuff online, but people are on the streets beating each other's heads in, like, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it just my perception, or was it more violent on the streets in the 60s and 70s?
He didn't go to the store and get beat up, but when they had these demonstrations, which were mostly anti-war demonstrations by kids who were going to get drafted and go to Vietnam, and they didn't want to because it was anyone who knew anything about the war knew it was kind of a hoax. Not a hoax, but it was a real war. But it was their reasons for being there were dubious, and they didn't. As John McNamara later revealed in his autobiography, even the administrations, the Johnson administration and then later Nixon, but mosely the Lyndon Johnson administration, they all knew that they shouldn't be there, and they couldn't figure out how to get out without losing face.
Yeah, they wanted a dignified ending to the war.
Yeah, they couldn't just say, "Hey, we're honorable." Out of here.
An honorable. It's like we got to claim something. We can't just leave.
By the way, this constant comment about the Asian cultures and they're terrible because they're more worried about saving face.
Yes.
Than they are about anything else. That's us.
We do that all the time.
An example of what I say you or I am.
Yes.
Because we worry about saving face, but I think as much as any Asian culture ever has, and the Vietnam War is a very good example of that.
So the travesty of all of this, and the thing I remember growing up, certainly in the first 5-6 years, when it came to desegregation, to me it was the schools. I was like, really? The black and white kids, they couldn't go to the same school, and now we're all, because I was alive at this time, and now we're all, desegregating black and white kids in the school. And now we're in 2018, almost 2019, and here we are where we're trying to segregate, getting whiteness out of the school. I got a confirmation on Humboldt University from an anonymous person who works there for obvious reasons. I just wanted to let you know that I also work at Humboldt State University, and I also received the whiteness email several times about whiteness and microaggressions training. So I can assure you it is not a hoax. The topic is taken very seriously at HSU, and at least in my experience, the average student, faculty, staff member will hear conversations about whiteness on a daily basis. It has always seemed surreal to me. I believe that these decent people with good intentions, but they have bought into the idea of negative whiteness, hook, line, and sinker to the point where you can almost see the guilt on their faces. Obviously, to keep my job, I shut up and keep my head down as much as possible, but it is getting very strange. I am a little paranoid, so I chose to not even write you from my HSU email address. This is very bad when teachers disagree with what's happening in a place of education and they're just shutting up and keeping their heads down.
And have to write anonymous notes to the No Agenda show from a different email address.
That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
This is a university.
This is true. Yeah.
And then I know you saw this note from Rachel. Adam, John, my daughter goes to a preschool that gives color names to classrooms. This year she was entering the white room, but when we got an email from the administration that they no longer thought white an appropriate color name, given the school's efforts at inclusion and diversity, the room is no longer called white. They changed it to a different color. The white room no longer, which of course is the most inclusive color of all. It's all colors, isn't it? Isn't white is everything.
And black is nothing. Which makes it even more crazy.
Republicans. Democrats. The old switcheroo.
There it is. The old switcheroo. Yeah, we do have a jingle for it. Okay, good. So, yeah. That's what people have been taught, and it's just getting worse. And it is people who are now just around 23, 24. They're the ones that got hit first with this nut stuff. It's really truly is 95, 96. You were born around that period. These are the ones that have gotten all of this weird.
I think it goes before that, but that we know for sure. I think you can go back it up a little bit. Because I got the table. I got my millennial table with the new and older millennials, and
I'm talking the Zoomers.
Well, the Zoomers for sure, but I would say that I'll ask this question about the switch between the parties to this group, and I'll bet you they all say, "Oh yeah, that was like."
I thought you already asked the millennial table about that.
No.
Oh. Well, I get a lot of people say, yeah, still people who are behind on shows will say, yeah, I don't know exactly where I was taught, but that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
And of course, no one can back it up with a textbook, which is always too bad.
No, you can't. You were taught wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Khashoggi. Or Khashoggi.
The United States will no longer refuel Saudi aircraft that are conducting strike missions over Yemen. U.S. and Saudi officials made this announcement on Friday. Now, the Saudis say their military coalition requested this change because they've improved their own refueling capabilities.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's very coincidental. So I wonder, I didn't have time to look into it to see if, what this means. I mean, are we just taking our guys who are refueling and putting a different uniform on them, or... is what is actually happening. But this was one of the big gripes people had about our involvement with the war in Yemen.
Yeah,
So that's
One
over.
of many gripes.
Well, that seems easy then.
Yeah, it sounds like, yeah. That's not good. It's not going to stop the complaining.
No.
I mean, down the way, everyone just doesn't pull out of Yemen. How much do they have to be beaten up? This all stems back from the Houthis kind of kicking out our guy from the running the place, who was running it into the ground. And, of course, now they're getting bombed at smithereens. Yeah. They hate the Houthis, apparently. I think our government does, too.
There's definite hate over there.
I want to get this clip out of the way. This is the idiot mosque. These guys have tried to blow up a mosque. They blame Trump.
Meanwhile, attorneys representing 3 Kansas men convicted of a 2016 plot to bomb a mosque and murder Somali Muslim refugees are arguing Trump's hate-filled rhetoric should be taken into account and result in a more lenient sentence. The lawyers say their clients, who face life sentences, were supporters of then-candidate Trump. In a court filing, the lawyers write, quote, "The court cannot ignore the circumstances of one of the most rhetorically mold-breaking, violent, awful, hateful, and contentious presidential elections in modern history, driven in large measure by the rhetorical China shop bull who is now our president."
Nice one and good read.
Yeah, she nailed it.
That was very good. Yeah, that's about right. All right, the story I've been following, this will be the last one for me.
The FDA's crackdown on e-cigarettes could go one step further. The Washington Post reports as soon as next week, the FDA is expected to announce a ban on the sale of most flavored e-cigarettes in stores and gas stations across the country. The FDA has called teenage use of e-cigarettes an epidemic. Most vaping products are flavored, and studies show teenagers are attracted to flavors. Now, the agency is spending nearly $60 million on an education campaign warning kids about the dangers of e-cigs. Though vaping e-cigs may pose less of a risk than smoking tobacco, the FDA says nicotine in e-cigs can negatively affect a person's brain and overall health. The Washington Post adds that the agency will also impose age verification requirement rules for online e-cigarette sales as well.
A couple of things. The reports were very similar. I had a number of them about this. Some reports actually start off by saying at a time where cigarette sales are at a record low, which is not good for the big tobacco, e-cigs. Go into any school and say, "Hey man, you got an e-cig?" People look at you like you're a moron. It's called vaping. They're using e-cig for a very specific reason, to make this seem like having the FDA weasel in on an unclassified substance. Nicotine is unclassified, I learned. It's not classified as any drug, unless you know better, which you might.
Well, I would probably just because you can go to Walgreens and buy nicotine lozenges. Yeah. You can buy patches and all these things, and they're just sell right over the counter. They can't, obviously it's available unclassified.
But as I've been following, this is tobacco who has a problem. Their main cancer stick product is at an all-time low in sales. They see this thing exploding. They want to have the government regulate it, and the government's doing it. And by the way, I think a lot of kids, they have a vape. The Juul would be the top one they use, but they don't call it an e-cig. This is really bugs me that they keep saying e-cig. It's vape. They buy vape liquid with no nicotine. You can buy it. I mean, it's very common. There's no nicotine in it at all. The reason kids are doing it is, A, it's an oral fixation and it's an obsession and it's cool to do. B, it takes very little work to flip the cartridge and put a little THC in there, which is another reason why people do it. But it's this whole idea of the government regulating some flavored juice. Yeah, I think it's wrong. They're killing a whole cottage industry. And just handing it's going to be $1 million to get each flavor certified.
No, that's the scam.
Yeah. Well, but big tobacco doesn't care.
No, that's what they want.
That's what they want. Yeah, and so they want to take over this whole
industry. They did a pretty good job of leveraging the system.
Yeah,
to their benefit, their corporate benefit.
Well, I just want everyone to notice that's how it works.
People over corporations.
Yes. Yes, AOC, I hear you. All right.
I'm good.
You're good? I'm good. that will be it, ladies and gentlemen. The next show, I may be coming to you from the lowlands, or maybe the
you
UK.
Have the meetup finally?
I'm trying to get the meetup part done. This is the reason I'm going is not for the meetup, but I'm hoping to get it organized. But I will let everybody know as soon as I know. So maybe a meetup in the lowlands, maybe one in the UK. We'll have to see.
What are you going there for then?
Anything to get out of this gig.
This is your Bitcoin.
Yes. A reminder, we will be playing the Flowers of the Forest for a couple minutes for all the veterans. I think, of course, of my grandfathers, both of them, and my dad, all service personnel. And I'm coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, FEMA Region 6 in the governmental maps. It is the capital of the Drone Star State in the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday from somewhere right here on No Agenda. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos!
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
ISO, ISO.